look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Bizarre Podcast Space Puppets. My name is Grant. You can call him Chip, and today we are kicking off the third season of Farscape. How are you doing?
Good. I can't believe we're in the second half of Farscape already. I feel like we just started this thing.
Yeah. I've mapped out space puppets, and unless things change, this is episode 26 of 52, the exact halfway point when we wrap today.
Man, I'm so used to talking about a thing that has been running for so long that there's like almost a decade's worth of show to talk about.
We're on the home stretch. Yeah. And I would like to welcome everyone who is with us for the first time or the first time in a long time, because as the first episode in a new season, this is out from behind the paywall. It is open and freely available to share. If you want to get the rest of the story behind us and ahead, the rest of the program is a premium show available on our Patreon, patreon.com/ChipandIronicus for patrons of any amount at any level. That's right, $1 a month, and you can get all of Space Puppets as we make it. And if enough people take that journey, take that jump with us, we will reach $2,600 a month, and then it all comes out just like this one to everyone. In fact, we've been there a time or two along the way, so there are some unlocked things back in season 1 you can go listen to right now. There's a healthy sampler of the early days.
Oh yeah. A good chunk, for sure.
But we're not in those early days. We're in what turned out to be the halfway point. So much like in our second season premiere episode, I'm going to ask you, as the newcomer to these characters, how you would sum them up and their journeys briefly as we're entering the third season. Again, in credits in the opening title sequence order.
Oh, right.
So let's talk about Mr. John Crichton, as portrayed by Ben Browder. What's his deal?
Wow, what a journey John Crichton has been on. IASA astronaut who becomes lost in space, gets transported who knows how far away from Earth, gets aboard this Leviathan, formerly prison ship, with a whole bunch of other people that he very quickly forms a bunch of different interesting relationships with. Gets wormhole technology information from a race of aliens called the Ancients, right? The Ancients. Beamed into his brain, but in a way where it's just like, hey, you'll remember this stuff when it's important, and also we're going to erase your memories that you have this in here, until he gets captured by Space Leather Daddy Scorpius through torturing him in a brain torture chair that spins really fast. Finds out he's got that technology in his brain, and now John is being hunted by Scorpius while also having a copy of Scorpius in his brain, slowly making him go crazy to the point where he was just fully cracked at the end of last season, until he was left with his brain half scooped out on an operating table, just screaming gibberish.
So there's no better time than now to talk about Aeryn Sun, played by Claudia Black.
Former peacekeeper who, was very reluctant to join the rest of the crew on Moya, and that slowly gets eroded over time. She softens up a bit while still holding on to certain peacekeeper values that she still treasures and holds as part of her identity, even after renouncing being a peacekeeper. Very quickly, all the way back in the first season, forms like some romantic tension with John Crichton, and has come to a head a couple different times at this point, but in a way where you can kind of reset it, so there's still in that will they won't they phase that everyone loves. She also has a bit of a connection to Moya's son, the Talon, the gunship Leviathan, which has been stolen by Krace, and he kind of acts as like a single divorced dad now to Talon. And bad news, she died.
Yeah,
Season, at the end of the last season.
That's the most immediate thing to say. She's the dead one now.
Yep.
So let us move on to Ka Dargo, played by Anthony Simcoe.
Some big stuff happened with Ka Dargo in season 2, but yeah, Luxon warrior, imprisoned for like 30 years or whatever until he escapes, and his only desire is to return home and find his son Jothi. And eventually he does get that info from Stark, and the last few episodes of season 2 are all about, or at least partially about, rescuing Jothi, who is now like in slave trade. And while also like simultaneously doing this stuff, he forms a relationship with Chiana, which Dargo and Chiana's relationship has a really good start, and then they actually start learning more things about each other, and then it gets not too it's not too hot now. There's some problems with this relationship.
More on that later.
Yeah. No, but he does rescue Jothi, who is not all grown up, but much older now, and him not being there for most of Jothi's life means that Jothi is his own person, growing up completely separately from Lux and culture and all that. So Dargo has this big conflict of, he's rescued my son. He's not the dream son I envisioned this whole time. So yeah.
So next up is Pa'u Zotozan, played by Virginia Hay.
When I think back on it now, I feel like there was less Zan stuff in this previous season than there was in the first.
That is true. That is true.
Right? Yeah. Because I feel like some of the new character-focused stuff was, a lot was Dargo, a lot was John. And then I feel like Chiana kind of took some of the time that maybe would have been Zan otherwise. I don't know. But yeah, former level 10 Pa'u priest at the start of the season is kind of restarting her spiritual journey all over again, after all the stuff that happened back in season 1. Probably the biggest like development with her is her new connection to Stark, who comes back in this season, from them both just kind of being religious space wizards, and them forming a bit of a bond over that, as well as her guilt and trauma over Stark getting vaporized in front of her face and then unvaporizing himself and going, it's all good. And yeah, the last season ends off with Stark basically saying that he wants to stay with her and like wherever life takes them. So, yep.
She's come up. Let's now talk directly about Chiana, played by Gigi Edgley.
A woman who I don't think will ever stop being a teen. I don't know.
You know the type.
a Nabari who is escaping from like her heavily conformist society that, I mean, their government is literally called the establishment.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Believes her brother's dead. She begins forming that same relationship I mentioned earlier with Dargo. There's a bit of growth through that relationship and all the crazy shit that happens aboard Moya, where she is now beginning to become a bit more of a responsible person who is been in Moya and with the people in Moya long enough now that it feels like she's starting to form attachments and roots a little bit, which is very antithetical to how she has always lived her life. So that's kind of a conflict with her. But her brother Neri is not dead, and is the head of a resistance group fighting the establishment, because both she and Neri were one of many Nabari who were allowed to leave the planet unwittingly given mind control STDs to infect races of other planets. And the other big thing is very close to the end of the season, and in fact the final episode of the season, her relationship with Dargo is getting a little rocky, especially now that Dargo is just ecstatic that he's found Jothi, and now Jothi's there, Chiana's there, they're in a relationship, and Dargo's all about settling down on a nice farm in the middle of nowhere and having a nice nuclear family, and she hates that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And also at the same time, hey, there's a Lux and kind of like Dargo here who's a little bit younger and is more of the teen that Chiana is. And so, hey, that's weird. They're starting to mac on each other behind Dargo's back. I wonder if anything bad will happen in regard to that.
Here's another name that came up a time or two already. Stark, played by Paul Goddard.
It's a Bannock, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He's a Stykira of the Bannocks as well. Yes.
Stykira of the Bannocks, a kind of like mystic that helps souls on their way to death or whatever. This next episode or two we're about to talk about, he refers to himself as an expert on dying. But yeah, he was had been captured and been held captive by Scorpius for several years. John helps him escape back in season 1, and he comes back to deliver the information to Dargo that he has learned where Jothi is. And even after he gets atomized on top of a space hubcap, he spends all of his time being dead and just a soul floating through space, doing reconnaissance to help Dargo find Jothi until he can reform in a new body and help plan a heist. Stark is incredibly well-intentioned, but he fucks up a lot in a way that makes people want to kill him. I feel so bad for Stark. I love Stark a lot. His other thing is that when things really aren't going his way and he really wants to persuade someone into doing something, he just goes ape shit. He's just like, oh, I'll do my crazy routine. I'll just lose my mind and just fucking flip out. And then everyone goes, geez, okay.
He's got a pretty decent hit rate with it, too. That's the thing.
It works. It's pretty effective, yeah. And yeah, like I said with Zan, he's beginning to form like a relationship with her too.
Captain, or former captain, I suppose, Bylar Crace, played by Lanny Tupu.
Went rogue in the first season to the point where now he is just a free-floating guy who really seems to be spending all of his time trying to raise a child in the form of Talon, the gunship Leviathan that was, his really big project that he was running back when he was a peacekeeper and an extremely huge asshole. And you don't see him too much in the second season until near the end where he comes back to help out a bit. Even then, that is more Talon sensing that his mother is in trouble and flying there and not something Crace chose to do. Crace definitely has a thing going on for Aeryn in a kind of a weird, creepy way that he doesn't act on too much, except for just like leaning a bit too close to her whenever he's talking to her and maybe trying to smell her hair. I can't quite tell, but it's kind of it looks like what he's trying to do a lot of the time whenever it's just him and Aeryn on Talon.
I can't believe how plot critical scented shampoo is going to be this week.
Christ. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a thing that, it's available. It's around.
Yeah.
And it came up in season 2. Look at the princess starts with Aeryn getting the smelly shampoo.
Oh my God.
Things spill out from there.
You're right. Oh boy. And yeah, Crace is at least putting on the image that he is a reformed man or a guy who's trying to do better. I don't entirely believe him. It feels very self-serving as a way just to get other people to do the things he wants. But, right. He also has a mysterious chip with information. Damn it, if only Aeryn soon could have seen this information that's on this data chip.
Up to this point, I think people have gotten the idea of Talon by implication, a living ship that is crossbred from the I don't know, noble humpback whales of your standard Leviathan, right?
Yeah.
Peaceful, powerful beasts. with a gunship. It's apparently the biggest gun anyone's ever seen is part of this baby.
Every single person in the show is very scared of this specific gun. Like, even the biggest villain in the show is just like, oh, fuck, it's the big gun on the baby. Get out of here.
It melts a fortress island in 2 seconds, right? Like, it is shown that they have cause to think this.
Yeah. Earlier on in season 2 and stuff, when you're learning more about like the Leviathan gunships, I always imagined it was like an array of different weapons and maybe missile launchers or something. No, it's one gun.
He's
That's
still growing. He's a growing boy.
That's true. I can't imagine him having even more guns that powerful, but...
Rounding out the third of 3 new faces and names in the credit sequence, Scorpius, portrayed by the great Wayne Pigram.
Scorpius, a peacekeeper who is half Sebacean, half Scaran, so he's a weird, fucked up little like crypt keeper style dude, all bound up in like alligator leather. He's a gross, hideous monster man whose demeanor and just the way he carries himself. I'm gonna need updates on our Archive of Your Own fanfics and pairings, because I don't think I ever got an update after Scorpius was introduced, because there must be a fuckload for this guy. Because this guy made a bunch of people into monster fuckers.
Absolutely. No, he is the number one gay ship by tag, I believe, is Scorpius and Braca.
Oh, okay.
But Scorpius and John is an easy second place.
Mm-hmm. Man, this first episode we're going to talk about, that there's got to be at least a couple of Scorpius and Grenchlick ones, right? Right?
There's some heat there. There's some juice. God, there's a lot of juice.
There's a lot of juice. But Scorpius is despite looking like an evil monster dude in BDSM gear, he is a very like calculating, tactical, cool-headed, because he has to keep cooling rods in his head so he doesn't die. Guy who is pursuing John like obsessively because he really wants the wormhole technology in his brain so that he can create, this like huge advancement in like military tactics and stuff where they can just teleport peacekeepers essentially anywhere. And he seems to have a really big thing against, Scarens, the monster half of him. Although I don't think we've gotten a huge amount of info about like what his actual big plans there are, other than I think he just really hates Scarens a lot.
Yeah.
And he also seems to have some backstory with, I'm forgetting her name now. Hot crustacean lady.
Yeah.
What is her name? Damn it.
Natira,
that's right.
Yes.
He has a lot of like big implied like backstory with her that we have not gotten much more info about, but I'm
just gonna say one of the ideas that was getting kicked around for season 5 and beyond, Natira joins the Moya crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
However, they would have to make some changes because the lady that played her said, "Oh yeah, I love being on the show. I'll do it anytime. I'm never getting in that makeup again for the rest of my life."
Oh God. And yeah, that's Scorpius.
So now to major characters that do not have their actors in the opening titles. Dominar Rigel the 16th, voiced by Jonathan Hardy and brought to life by a team of puppeteers.
Rigel, yeah, just a deposed Dominar. He really wants to get back to his planet and kill the shit out of his cousin and then just reclaim the throne. Now that I'm thinking about it, we have never seen any other of his race at all, right? We've only ever seen Rigel and like dead ones.
Yes, never living. Scorpius has a collection.
Yeah.
That he inherited from Krace, to be fair.
But yeah, Rigel is a greedy, shitty little self-serving gremlin that I love. He's a bad man with the capacity to do good if he's pushed very hard into it. And I guess the biggest other development with Rigel, aside from that, is that he kind of has a weird friendship with Chiana, in that they both act like teenagers that love stealing, and they love to go on outings stealing things together. They are the two schemers.
Call that team building. Yeah.
Yeah. They are the two schemers, and thus they love hanging out. Yeah, that's Rigel.
And then the final member of the current Moya crew, well, maybe not necessarily, Pilot, voiced by Alani Tupu once again, and brought to life by a team of talented puppeteers.
He's, a race of aliens that essentially get grafted to Leviathans so that they have the ability to see the stars and leave their home planet. Pilot was not put into Moya in a natural way. He was kind of just... The former pilot was horribly murdered by peacekeepers by order of Grace. And he was forced into Moya in a horrible, painful way that made him feel pain for years on end, nonstop, all the time. And Pilot was somewhat complicit in this act. He accepted the offer of a peacekeeper to be joined in this way because he was so desperate to see the stars, and he had not been chosen yet by his society. Currently, Pilot has started back from zero, essentially, because he was completely disconnected from Moya, and now he has been spending the rest of the season kind of, bonding with Moya in the natural way, which takes a much, much longer amount of time, 1 or 2 years, and that's Pilot.
And I was also going to ask about Jothi, played by Matt Newton, but I think we got all the Jothi points when we were talking about Dargo and Chiana. But at this point in the story, where we rejoin season 3, I guess he's part of the Moya crew, right? He's got a bed there. He's helping out. He's doing chores.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That is the cast, and for some reason, all I could think about yesterday is Rockabilly Pilot. I just wanted to say the words Rockabilly Pilot.
I like that idea.
Yeah, right?
Thinking about it, when we've done a couple previous episodes where we've taken a look at all of the different figures from the toy line or whatever. There's no pilots, which is a shame, but I understand why. That would be even if you try to make him small, that's a big figure.
Natira was also going to be in the never-produced Wave 3.
Oh, okay.
That would have been great.
When you say Rockabilly Pilot, that's just ooh, that's a limited edition Pilot figurine you could have bought.
Just some sort of pompadour slapped on top of that head. I don't know how you do it, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You think Pilot would have been into the New Swing revival? Is Pilot listening to the Cherry Poppin' Daddies? I like to think so.
Sure.
Anyhow, that's enough preamble. It is time for one more bit of preamble. So, it is a new season, which means the return of the wife game. For those who have forgotten or are not familiar, Francisca Buller, the actual factual wife of show star Ben Browder, appears as a new guest star in every season of Farscape. So far, my good friend here has a 100% success rate in identifying whether an episode does or does not have a wife in it. So, in today's episodes, is there a wife? Is Francisca Buller in these episodes?
I'm going to say no.
Correct.
Yay!
The streak lives.
This is my favorite game.
It's iffy, right? There's a featured short woman in the second episode of the season, right?
Yep. Yeah, but it wasn't.
I thought that might trip you up.
Yeah, the main thing that I think is going to trip me up is if she ever plays a character that isn't kind of a weird little gremlin freak, because that's every character she's been so far, I believe.
2 out of 2.
Yeah. So.
So yes, it is now March 2001. The premiere aired the same day Memento hit theaters. The Game Boy Advance is about to drop.
Oh, hell yeah.
Speaking of dropping, the second episode we're going to talk about today premiered the day the space station Mir began deorbit.
Oh.
Yeah. Huh. So there is the mindscape, the context we should put ourselves in as we talk about Season 3, Episode 1, Season of Death, written by Ricky Manning, who previously wrote Won't Get Fooled Again and Mind the Baby, now executive director. Okay. And directed by Ian Watson, whose last directorial efforts were The Locket and Out of Their Minds.
So yeah, this episode, everyone's on Moya just pacing back and forth, asking if John's surgery is done yet.
They're treating Pilot's Den like the waiting room at a hospital.
Just, yeah, back and forth. Constantly asking Pilot, like, has the diagnosis said anything yet? Has he gone boop, 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 boop yet? And the Pilot's answer is, stop asking me.
Pilot's getting real testy when he gets asked the same question 6 different ways.
And at the same time, like, Crace is still here. He's also still in Talon nearby. And Crace is getting a little, like, antsy about just being in orbit around this planet. He wants to leave, like, now, because everyone's worried that the Scorpius neural clone that was in John may have gotten a signal out and called the real Scorpius in. But
they shouldn't worry about that at all. That's not what happened. Back down on the surface, Grunchlick is at pistol point with Braca, and he's the one that called him all along.
Yup.
Grunchlick, you sellout. God damn it.
I love that, like, the instant this scene happened, I was just like, oh, I feel real dumb for talking about the previous, the finale and last week's episode, where I was just like, oh, it seems like he's actually a little bit compassionate and seems genuinely sorry that Aeryn died. No, this guy sucks ass. The instant these people barely touched one toe on the planet, he called the cops on them.
And not just any cops. He called fucking Braca. He sucks.
Braca sucks. What a bootlicker. Like, while Grunchlick and Braca are talking about that, Scorpius walks in, and he's just holding the just recently removed brain chip. And it's still got, like, a chunk of John's brain matter on it. Scorpius goes, cool. I can't wait to have this wormhole technology. And then he just nibbles the brain matter off and
he slurps it off the chip like an escargot, right?
Yeah.
Like he's chowing on them brains.
Yep, it's gross. Meanwhile, John is, still just screaming gibberish strapped to the operating table while the diagnosin is slowly dying. And hey, I was right with calling this. Harvey is still in John's brain.
Harvey's still in there, and he really, really doesn't want to be.
Yeah, we see this all happening in John's brain, so we're back on, like, the pier, like, brain palace that John has. And yeah, Harvey just walks up to him and goes, like, hey, I hate it in here, so you have to die so you can release me from this prison I'm in.
And that kicks us to a brand new opening title sequence. What is new about the title sequence, in addition to the, 3 more cast members added to it?
Yeah, something I'm glad they finally did is all of the John Crichton narration is no longer just clips they took from the pilot episode, the premiere. They actually had Ben Browder, like, record custom narration for the openings. So you're no
longer a Frankenstein. Yeah.
It's not a Frankenstein. You're not hearing words getting awkwardly cut right off, and there's no background hiss. This was done in a recording booth.
And it has a totally new tone. I'm just going to read it out. My name is John Crichton, an astronaut in some distant part of the universe aboard this ship of escaped prisoners. If you can hear me, if I make it back, if I open a door, Earth is unprepared for the nightmares I've seen. Or should I stay, protect my home, not show them you exist, but then you'll never know the wonders I've seen. And inside all of that, there are interjections like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer style of a different John sharing his inner thoughts about a number of these clauses that make up the monologue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's not being pursued by an insane military commander. That is not the frame we're given anymore.
Yep.
He is grappling with the desire to go home and the desire to protect home, but also doesn't Earth deserve to have a piece of what is out there? And these are the impulses in conflict that are driving John Crichton now, according to this new title sequence.
Yeah. There's also smaller things. Like it just feels a bit higher budget. The motion graphics package is much nicer. The theme song is like a new version of, the previous 2 seasons theme song, and I think it sounds better.
They took away the ladies
the yayas,
and put in gremlins.
Yeah, I guess you could call those gremlins. But overall, I think it's just a bit nicer. It's just a bit more polished, I think. And yeah, it was also just fun to watch this opening for the first time and just see like, oh, okay, the Stark is here to stay. He's part of the main cast now. Cool.
And also it's built out of a lot of the really like high octane grab clips of season 2 and some stuff that is presumably season 3 because we haven't seen it yet. And it ends with on-screen titles.
Yes, we actually...
Everyone knows this is called Season of Death now.
Yeah.
Like this year, the change from season 2 to season 3 has probably the least significant changes behind the scenes, right? Right. We're going to see some new faces, and the old faces, most of them, a lot of them got bigger titles, but it's not nearly the change of, say, 1 to 2, where we're in a different studio, we have a different composer, different effects house for our CGI stuff. Like, that's huge. Much tamer changes, even though the visible stuff, evidenced by that opening, is a much more significant change. I don't know. Yeah.
So after the opening, Braca is still holding Grenchlick up because it's basically his usefulness is done. So hey, why don't we just kill him now? And Grenchlick is trying to prove he's still worth keeping around. He's got a bunch of stuff he could do for them. Anything, in fact. During this conversation, a new peacekeeper who we won't know for very long, named Officer Culbrin.
Their chauffeur, basically, the guy that drove the Marauder, the mid-sized ship that brought them here.
This guy comes in and is
mid-size is in minivan, I guess.
Yeah. Culbrin comes in and informs Braca and Scorpius that, like, hey, we've got a encoded message from the command carrier. It's gonna be a little bit before we can get picked up. Like, they finished a battle successfully, and like Braca and Scorpius both like smile and look at each other like, awesome, love winning battles. And then, oh well, the ship's delayed by, carrier has been delayed by a little over 5 hours.
Yeah.
So now they've got to spend 5 hours not being detected by specifically Talon. Like, everyone else, whatever. Talon has a big gun that will kill you in a single shot, and Scorpius knows that, and he's very worried about Talon shooting them.
Like, if everyone on Moya came down with guns, they would be outnumbered. But Scorpius could handle it. But the biggest gun in the world is in orbit.
Yeah.
So really, the main plot of this episode is just Scorpius waiting.
Yes.
It's a huge test of his legendary patience.
Scorpius was flown down here by Officer Culbrin undetected, but it was only because Krace and Talon were like preoccupied dealing with like Aeryn's whole flight, chasing Harvey Crichton. So he's asking Scorpius is asking just like, hey, how long could you stay undetected for if we flew right now? And Officer Cobran exudes a lot of smugness and confidence in how good of a pilot he is.
Yes.
So he's just like, oh, I could go 1,000 meters without being caught. And Scorpius is just like, no, that's not enough. Fuck that. Mm-hmm. He believes Talon would overtake them too quickly. So yeah, like you said, now it's time for Scorpius to wait a whole lot.
And Grunchlick is going to provide them a nice little hidey hole to hole up in.
Yeah.
That's why he's not dead. Yay!
So, meanwhile, back in John's brain, he's having a conversation with Harvey about, like, hey, why the fuck are you still in my head? And even Harvey doesn't entirely know. He doesn't know why he's still here, and he hates it, and he wants to die.
Which means he wants John to die. Which means he's like, hey, when you wake up, could you kill yourself real quick? Please?
For both of us. End it, John. Free us from one another. Scorpius has beaten you. Aaron's son is dead. Your power of speech is gone. The only one you'll ever talk to again is me. Is that how you want to live? End it, John. Don't.
And meanwhile, Rigel is just shouting for Grunchlick throughout a bunch of different hallways because, at the end of the previous season, he had arranged transport with Grunchlick so he could just get the hell out of here. Fuck this.
Turns out everybody's showing up here late. So yeah, Rigel finds the Diagnosin on the edge of death and John in his exposed and most vulnerable position. Because he's the number one bro. He saves the day. He's got everybody's back. Nobody acknowledges this because it's an accident and he wasn't even trying and didn't want to. But that's beside the point.
Yeah. So everyone on Moya...
You think his ride was the ship that the command carrier just blasted to hell?
Oh my god. That would be pretty good. I hope so.
That'd be fun.
I hope so. Rigel immediately informs everyone on Moya. Mm-hmm. So Zan, Stark, and Dargo are going down to the planet, and Chiana and Jothi are being told to stay behind, and they don't like being told what to do.
Dargo straight up says, do what I tell you, and both of them throw a tantrum in unison. They are tantrum twins.
Yeah. And, despite their protests, Dargo's just telling them, like, hey, if everything goes real bad, just starburst out of here, like, immediately. Mm-hmm. So Scorpius, Grunchlick, and Braca, and any other peacekeepers around are all in the hidey hole.
Yes.
And Grunchlick is sitting in a chair saying, hey, I'll do whatever you want to stall everyone else so that you can get away undetected. And while he's doing that, Scorpius grabs a big sci-fi brain spike and just stabs it into the back of Grunchlick's spinal column. And Grunchlick does finger guns and then starts gurgling and falls to his knees. And we see Scorpius put on the same device that he wore just a few episodes ago to jump into John's brain. The same little red and blue LEDs that shine into one of your eyeballs on a little headband. But this time, when he puts it on, thanks to the spike he jabbed into Grunchlick's neck, he can now control Grunchlick's movements and his speech and everything.
It is a show about puppets, after all. This is on brand. This is...
And so this had to be the source of at least one piece of fan fiction, this scene, because Grunchlick's on his knees. Scorpius very slowly sits down to the chair, directly behind him, and we just get this shot of Scorpius leaning back in a chair, looming over Grunchlick as he raises his hand and then causes Grunchlick to raise his hand in the same way. And Scorpius is loving it.
The hand clenching, unclenching shot, it's just so well framed.
It is.
For the 4:3 screen. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. It's really great. That really stood out to me as a really good shot.
So, in the operating theater, Rigel is performing rescue breaths.
I was going to call it puppet-to-puppet resuscitation.
Oh, yes, PPR.
I love seeing this little puppet trying to do CPR on another like animatronic head. It's very funny.
The actual puppetry of like he looks like he's breathing.
He does.
It's so good. Like the wrist movement in there that is making his ribs go. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. So everyone else who's descended down into the planet rushes in. And hey, the diagnosis isn't dead yet. It's who knows how much of Rigel's efforts actually helped there, but it's shocking to see him doing any sort of life-saving procedure or action.
Mm-hmm. He did turn on the green light that makes germs go away.
Yes. Yeah. And so Crace is coming in through comms. He's saying, oh shit, Tal has detected a command carrier coming. I guess Scorpius must have come down, undetected like a marauder or something. We should probably go very, very soon because we're going to be boned otherwise. And then meanwhile, we cut back to Scorpius, who's practicing talking through Grunchlick.
Yeah.
Like getting the accent.
Hugh Keays-Byrne, the actor that plays Grunchlick, is having a fantastic time in this calibration scene.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
When he like extends an arm to Braca, it looks like he's inviting him to tango.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's asking for Braca's gun, and he shoots himself, or rather, Scorpius shoots him with his own hand in his arm to be the big distraction. So puppeted Grunchlick is in the hallway waiting to be found by Dargo and Rigel to tell this story about how, everything went to hell because Scorpius is here and he's gone. He left. He's not here anymore. Please don't look.
Yeah. And everyone even asking like, are you sure he's gone? Oh yeah, long gone.
He's super gone. No one's ever been more gone than Scorpius.
And there's like a quick cut to Scorpius who's like leaning back in his chair with his eyes closed as he's like piloting Grunchlick, and he just does a little like motion. Like, got him. So the Diagnosin is getting better. Mm-hmm. Hooray. I'm glad Diagnosin didn't die.
Breathing mask, yeah.
Everyone's in the operating room, along with, puppeted Grunchlick, and Stark is looking at the pods with people in them that were going to be used for brain donor tissue to fix what was taken out of John's brain. And Stark is really mad about this because he can detect them being like souls that are trapped in purgatory and cannot, ascend to wherever they go next.
Just crying out in agony in this medically induced limbo. And this is why he and Zan are such a compatible couple. They agree on the big things about life and afterlife.
Grunchlick, still piloted by Scorpius, is trying to talk through the whole procedure of what can be done for John and trying to say just like, oh, even if the Diagnosin could do anything, it's a really slim chance that he'd get fixed. He's pretty fucked, actually.
And he floats the idea, the neural clone might still be in there even without the chip. He could still be super fucked up and evil and kill you all one by one. I wouldn't risk it.
Mm-hmm. So Dargo is asking Zan to do another like Unity mind meld to see if Harvey is still in there. And she's like, I don't know about that. That was really awful the last time I did that. But Dargo insists, and Stark is there to like assist her. So she reluctantly, touches foreheads with John. And yep, Harvey's still there.
She's drooling the whole time. She like lowers her head down onto John's head.
Yeah, she can still detect Harvey, but she's also, you hear some of John's like thoughts going over to her, and it's just John saying, just leave me. I want to die. There's nothing you
The
can do.
character of Scorpius has such a grip on this show because there are 2 Scorpiuses in this room and another one in the room next door.
There's never enough Scorpiuses. And so yeah, Zan breaks unity, informs everyone that the Scorpius neural clone is still in his head. Like, she is fully convinced that John should die because he is living in a horrible existence. And Grunchlick's just like, oh yeah, dude, fucking take this little, like, syringe, is just jab him with it. You'll ease his pain. He'll pass away painlessly. And everyone sees
Zan would be into this shit. Zan would be a total Kevorkian, right? Like the ultimate autonomy of the body and self. Like, that's where she's at.
And so she goes just to jab John in the neck and kill him. And everyone else goes, whoa, what in the fuck are you doing? And grabs her as she's just like screaming and crying that, like, I heard John beg for death. And so that leads into a commercial break. When we come back, we got Grunchlick theorizing on how the neural clone could still be in John's brain.
And how with this, like, neural bleed, there's no, like, thing you can cut out anymore.
Yeah, Harvey is just in John's brain now. It's part of it. It's one and the same.
There's also a fun little bit of business here with Stark playing keep away with the euthanasia injector.
Yeah. And so eventually Dargo just tells Zan to just fucking leave. Just go.
Just go.
Get out of here.
Only people who want John alive allowed.
Yeah. And so Zan leaves while, like, pulling Grunchlick with her by the hand. And so it's just Dargo and Stark talking to each other, trying to decide what to do next. And Dargo tells the Diagnosin, hey, try and restore his speech. The Diagnosin, being surprisingly more ethical than I thought the Diagnosin would be, going like, hey, but John's wishes were that he only wanted procedures done that wouldn't hurt any donors. And Stark...
Yeah. Stark cuts the Gordian organ donor, and
he grabs that euthanasia, like, syringe and goes, hey, you see these people in these pods? This is fucking hell for them. This sucks. They should be able to pass on. And so he just opens up one of the pods and just jabs them with it and kills them. And so there's, like, a 0.5 seconds this person, like, is conscious again, just to go, and then die. What a nightmare.
Which means there is now a dead tissue donor, which John didn't say anything about. We can get this thing rolling. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So Grunchlick and Zan are out in the hallway, and, like, you start to feel for Scorpius because he's trying so hard to manipulate these people.
Yeah.
And get them to leave, like, Krace is on the line. He should probably go and chase Scorpius, who definitely left.
Yeah.
But they're all too fucked up to manipulate.
Yeah. Everyone's in such a state that they don't want to do any of this shit. Like, Krace
Can I have, like, a few days off to grieve, please?
Yeah. Krace doesn't have any trail to follow to go after Scorpius, and he and Zan, like, want to wait so that they can retrieve Aeryn's body so they can give her the proper space burial that she wanted as a peacekeeper, you know. Wants to die in space.
As mentioned in the locket, we die in space. Yeah.
And Zan is, like, just crying and saying, like, this is I can't handle this right now. I can't I can't go retrieve Aeryn's body. This is fucked up. I can't do. And, like, Grunchlick is grabbing her and just like, come on, do me a solid, help me. All this sucks. And Zan refuses.
It doesn't work. Meanwhile, in a different part of orbit, in Moya, in, like, the mess hall, them kids are roughhousing.
Oh boy. Jothy's making food or getting food ready, and he tries to, like, feed Chiana something, and she does, like, a little snarl and snap at him in, like, a playful way, like a weird playful way.
I doubt we have many teens listening to the show, but on the off chance, if you are a teenage boy and a teenage girl starts to bite you, you're in. That means you got it. It's good. You're good.
Jotham does not get it at first.
He does not get it.
He takes like 3 steps back, like, what the fuck? You're gonna bite me. And she like is like, why the fuck would you do that?
So he restrains her in a hold and then flips her around and restrains her in a different hold. And it stops being roughhousing and starts going some other rough places gradually. Yep. There's a gradient that they travel down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the camera cuts like just as they're about to start like macking on each other. And we cut back down to John. His surgery is completed. All the damage in his brain has been repaired. His speech should return shortly. And it doesn't take too long, like literally only a couple seconds later before John starts talking to Dargo. And the first thing he says is just lost. And then Aeryn's gone, isn't she? Oh, and right before this, the diagnosant leaves and everyone's like, where the fuck you're going? And the diagnosant goes, must excrete. Gotta shit.
Hey, where are you going?
Must excrete.
You know, brain surgery really makes you gotta poop.
Yeah, it takes so long.
Yeah. It happens all the time on Grey's Anatomy. I swear.
But yeah, John tells Dargo that he wants to die. And Dargo tells him that, like, hey, that's not a good idea, bud. Like, Aeryn died so that you could live. You know, don't waste this thing that she gave you.
Whereas Stark has a much more active and proactive pep talk. Like, oh, you're worried about the scorpion in your head? He's nothing. He ain't shit. He's just a ghost. There's no chip. There's no web of brain string. You got his ass.
And this leads to a kick-ass scene. John jumps back into his, like, the pier inside his mind where Harvey is.
You ever walk up to your imaginary friend just to kick his ass?
Probably once or twice. So he has manifested gum to chew on. Because
it's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum.
Yeah. He puts his hand around, puts his arm around Harvey's shoulder, starts walking him down the pier.
Kind of like a Starburst. Do you think there was a thing about fans of the show eating Starburst for, the name?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
It does look like a Starburst, actually. It's too big to be gum. John's just doing like a, hey, buddy, old pal, come here. Come on, let's take a walk. And yeah, his arm around Harvey's shoulder and just starts walking him up the pier. And then he just starts kicking his ass. He throws him across a couple feet across the pier, which suddenly turns into like the inside of a warehouse. That's a good arena for kicking ass in. And like
this is where the Sharks and the Jets had their rumble.
When Harvey first gets thrown and like teleported into this different area, he lands on his back and just wiggles around a bunch like a helpless turtle who can't. He needs to be flipped.
Yeah. For all of the investment in Scorpius being unflappable and being solid, and always, even when things go against his plans, there's still a measure of control, right? Flipping that acid bath at the end of Look at the Princess. Harvey is a different guy.
Yeah.
Harvey doesn't have to follow those rules.
Yep. And so John just puts his dukes up and dares Scorpius to like try and hit him. And Scorpius
Harvey puts him up silly style.
Yes, he's doing the like fucking it's the
he looks like the Notre Dame mascot, but worse somehow.
Yes. Yeah, putting them dukes up and trying to give John a what for, but he can't. He sucks at this. Harvey sucks at fighting. And so John is just punching Harvey in the face over and over and over again, just flooring him and he just like winds up a big hunch like his fucking god hand and punches Harvey so hard he wires stunts dozens of feet away and gets slam dunked into a dumpster, which has its lid like slammed shut on him.
Well, you're missing two very important parts here. First is when he quotes Stone Cold Steve Austin at the height of his fame.
Yes.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Yeah, there is a cheering crowd during this scene.
And then, he dumpsters him, and then there's another huge pop of crowd noise. Revengeance is lifting from Farscape.
Yeah. Hell yeah. John has won control over his brain. He has slam dunked Harvey so hard that despite Harvey still being in his brain, he's just like a whimpering, like sad little creature who can't do shit anymore. Another thing I like to think is lifting from Farscape is a game I always mean to let's play and still have not. Condemned 2, the first-person brawling game. The protagonist, the protagonist becomes a horrible alcoholic in the second game, and his alcoholism is like a ghost that follows him everywhere and talks to him, and you stop being an alcoholic in that game by beating your alcoholism up in a boss fight. You just punch the shit out of it, and then you just stop drinking alcohol for the rest of the game.
It's not unheard of. I'm in the middle of that level in Psychonauts 2.
Oh, you're playing that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. It's really good.
So meanwhile, in reality, in a sense, there's a beeping light on the Grunschlick panel.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, what's that? And he says, oh, one of the pods is waking up. And everyone is very, very interested in that. And Grunschlick wants them to not be.
Yeah. But this is just normal Grunschlick not being controlled currently. Yeah, he's really trying to make it sound like it's not a big deal what's happening.
It's nothing for the Diagnosen to care about. Yeah, okay, even if you're already in the room, just let it be, ignore it, it's fine, just a faulty sensor, nothing. But Tokat the Diagnosen goes, and he sees a door open, and a big nasty claw comes out. There's a secret Scaryn in there.
Mm-hmm. This Scaryn looks even like they changed up the Scaryn like head and design even more, I think, compared to the last time we saw him, to make him even more similar to like how Scorpius's face looks.
There's more stuff going on in the face. The face is a lot more articulated than, say, Kargan was in Look at the Princess.
Yeah.
This Scaryn is named Plonek, we will learn, and he is played, as expected, by Thomas Holsgrove. That means that when the hand comes out and Heat Ray finally does kill the Diagnosen for once and for all, Thomas Holsgrove killed himself in this moment.
Yay!
He spent the morning in one suit filming half of it against a stunt actor, and the afternoon in the other suit filming the opposite side.
That's great. The like heat blast that shoots out of the Scaryn's hand and just kills Tokat. I'm pretty sure it's just CG composite of like horrible boils welting all over the Diagnosen's face, but it looks pretty damn good. Like, it's a pretty good looking effect.
Every season we've noticed a really marked step up in what the digital effects are bringing to the show, and that is absolutely true, especially for some of the environments we're going to talk about in the next episode.
Yep. I know the reason why certain TV shows these days have very awful looking special effects is due to a lot more, labor reasons than anything. But like some of the effects in these first 2 episodes look better than like the Flash on the CW, like now.
Part of that is also budgetary. For a long running show, your budget gets cut every year, essentially. In order to make the same margins as it's a lot harder to convince someone to watch season 6 of something than season 1 of something, right?
Yeah.
Like the big thing to do for something like The Flash is compare what it looks like when they run real fast in the last 2 seasons compared to the first 2 seasons. It is night and day.
Yeah.
Whereas Farscape is to put it in video game terms, it is the system seller.
Yeah.
And the system is the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yep. So after the commercial break, we got Scorpius and Braca going, hey, why the fuck is there a scare in here? What are you doing? And then Braca just kind of goes in and elbows Grunchlick's gunshot wound before he can even answer.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes a Scorpius line that made me choke on my breakfast when I was watching this episode.
Yeah, I thought it might.
Because he just menacingly walks over to Grunchlick, gets right up in his face, and goes, Grunchlick, you can do one of 2 things with your mouth. Whoa!
One of them is talk to me. He never says what the second is. I mean, there's a demonstration of what he meant by it, but it still takes a while to hang in the air.
Yup. He puts the mind control headband on and forces Grunchlick to bite his own index finger off at the first knuckle.
Off.
All the way off. And it's a nasty, juicy prosthetic that you see. Like, oh.
It pops and pours. There's fluids of several colors coming out of there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a description of how they made this. And, you know, it's exactly what you'd expect, right? Fake finger put on the real finger. You bite through the thin latex at the joint. But boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it's nasty. And so, obviously, Grunchlick just screams in pain for a while before going, okay, sure, I'll tell you everything now after you made me bite my own damn finger off.
So what he describes is this long chain of double crosses and contingencies. Who was paying him for what, when, and who he was playing. And it doesn't really matter, except to say that Grunchlick is trying to play 5-dimensional chess, but then sometimes your opponent shows up with a gun.
It's basically just a scare and wanted to stow away because they knew Scorpius got surgery done here. So he'll have to show up again sometime, and then the scanner will come out and kill Scorpius. So meanwhile, on Moya, we see both Chiana and Jothi like zipping up their pants, putting all their clothes back on.
Yeah.
Because they fucked in the kitchen.
As Rigel floats in, and there's something that is very consistent between these 2 episodes, and it is that Jothi does not have what it takes to have an affair.
No, he sucks at this.
He immediately like picks up, I don't know, the big container of flour and walks away. Like, what is your cover story, man? You are acting so suspicious.
Yeah. Chiana's slightly more convincing, I guess. A better explanation of just like, oh, we fucked up cooking and now we're cleaning it up or something. But hey, the food came out fine. So Chiana distracts Rigel by going like, look, here's a whole tray of food. You just eat the food. Eat it. Here's all the food. And Rigel goes,
he's like,
awesome.
yeah, all right.
Awesome. Food. Kick ass. And so she and Jothi just watch him leave until they're sure he's out of earshot. It's just real awkward until Jothi's just like, we should clean this up. And it's awful.
So Braca is in the safe room with a holo map of the facility. I love a holo map. This
looks like a map for one of the GBA Metroid games.
But a little bit of Bin Laden's secret Hollow Mountain base from Time Magazine.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You the little hole right underneath the ground. Oh no, that's the was that for Saddam Hussein, the one where it's just like he's in a little hole under the ground with an air pipe?
Yeah, no, that one's real. That was reality.
Yeah. I was just imagining Scorpius in it instead, though.
He would. And it would be key to victory. So yeah, they are keeping tabs on everyone's current positions. Who's where are they going? How do we stay hidden?
Officer Coburn is still here, being extremely cocky and saying things like, yeah, I could fight a Scaran one-on-one and beat him without any guns or anything. I'm real cool. But instead, Scorpius is like, no, what we're going to do is I'm going to control Grunchlick again and make him deal with the Scaran.
Yeah, I would never do anything to upset the dude who has the brain control rig still wired to my brain parts.
Yeah.
This whole episode is Grunchlick's no good, very bad day.
Oh, he has a horrible time. Yeah.
It's a horrible time.
So yes, the controlled Grunchlick finds the Scaran, who's asking him like, "Hey, why'd you release me? Why did you? What's up with this? Is Scorpius here?" And Grunchlick's trying to play off as like, "No, I let you out. Scorpius isn't here, but John Crichton's here. Do you know him?" Yeah, Scorpius is really obsessed with him. So cool, go get him, and then he can get Scorpius. Awesome. The Scaran is not convinced this is entirely what's going on, so he's doing his whole heat ray mind reading stuff with his hand, like interrogate Grunchlick. Once he gets the info, just picks up Grunchlick by the neck and throws him in one of the cryopods and just slams it shut.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Grunchlick.
That's a wrap on Immortan Joe.
Damn. He was great.
Yeah.
He was a great character for the 1.5 episodes he was around.
See, that's the problem with my evil Moya idea from our last episode. So many of the characters that would qualify are no longer alive.
Yeah.
This is an idea that only works in Farscape Valhalla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scorpius is confident that they have distracted the Scaran enough that they can make some moves, because he wants to leave very soon, even under threat of being detected. So he's asking Officer Culbrin, just like, hey, how good of a pilot are you? And he's like, he aced the last test or whatever, near perfect score, one of the best pilots around. And so Scorpius is going like, okay, cool. Your expert piloting skills are about to be tested. And Culbrin's so hyped.
He's so happy to hear that.
He loves
it.
So meanwhile, elsewhere, Stark and Zan have entered the chamber where Aeryn is being stored.
And they confirm what you were theorizing before, that Aeryn is in this cryopod, technically not dead, one step from death. However, her soul has already left. Her body may have 1 or 2 beats left in that heart, but Stark cannot hear her voice the way he could the donors in John's room, or the scores of millions in the larger chamber. Yeah.
Zan says, oh, but wait, with my Pa'u abilities, I may be able to do something here. And Stark is extremely against this because the thing she's proposing is extremely dangerous. And so Zan turns around like, dang, guess we can't do it. And then she quickly whips back around and uppercuts Stark unconscious.
I mean, how many times have all the other couples in the show done that? It's really just Dargo and Chiana who are currently together and haven't beat each other unconscious even once.
Yeah. So elsewhere, the Scaran is searching for John. And I just want to point out that the outfit he's wearing is, the similar black, like BDSM webbing gear on him or whatever. But the central points where like these straps cross have these big red like buckles on them, and they look like the Batman Beyond Batman symbol. they're they're red on black even.
This is kind of Joel Schumacher's Batman Beyond. Yes.
Yeah. If only.
It's what we were all begging for at this time. In 2001, you couldn't shake a stick without hitting somebody who wanted Joel Schumacher's Batman Beyond. Anyhow, the Scaran has cornered John and Dargo inside the operating theater, and you know what that means? It's bro time.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
I love that, like, Dargo opens the door to leave, and within a millisecond identifies that's a Scaryn, and he punches him and then does like a full 360 spinning backhand punch on him before shutting the door. It rules. But yeah, they have no weapons or anything, so they decide that they just got to do a tactical retreat, because when you're being bros, you're not going to say run away.
No, of course not.
And so they find a way to escape this room, like through a secret door, something that like brings the pods, the donor pods in or whatever.
Yeah, so they're now outside where Tokat took his smoke breaks, back in the good old days before he got killed twice in one day.
Yeah. So yeah, they're out in the freezing cold, which is going to be real bad for a Scaryn.
It's not great for a Luxon either, it turns out.
Yeah.
Dargo's hoping that he can hold on longer. Mm-hmm. That's the plan, is an endurance test.
Yeah. So back with Zan, she's about to do this big risky thing to potentially retrieve Aeryn's soul. And so she cracks open Stark's mask a little bit so she can borrow his magic face powers to assist her. And
like forming a bridge for her spirit to walk down to find Aeryn's soul far, far away, deep in the mists, where she finds her in a gamer chair.
Oh, gamer chair. Aeryn's in the seat she ejected from, like limp, and there's just this holy light like emanating from directly behind the chair. Wind blowing her hair and stuff.
Like the awkward placement of her legs and ankles. Her arms are just hanging lifeless. And when she's finally roused to speak, like all she can give is like her rank and regiment, right? She's regressed. Yeah. She's no longer herself in any way.
Zan approaches Aeryn and does Unity with her, and hey, we get that same really cool visual way representing Unity that we did all those episodes ago with the
Janus Films logo Unity.
Yeah. And so through Unity, she's able to talk to like a fully aware Aeryn. Aeryn just is telling Zan that she shouldn't be here. Zan's making it clear that she's about to do something that is going to hurt Zan a lot. Like she's going to do something that's going to gravely injure herself in order to rescue Aeryn. And Aaron's just like pleading for her to not do it, and Zan gives no shits.
But yeah, she is immediately herself again upon joining in Unity, because Aeryn becomes Aeryn when she's close to her shipmates who love her. Zan says that she loves her.
Yeah.
That's the shit. That's the real shit right there.
It's good. Whatever it is exactly that Zan is doing, she completes it and she gets thrown away from Aeryn back in the real world. And
I love how fraught and like contested this is. Like Zan is even getting frustrated, basically saying, "Shut up and let me resurrect you."
Yes. Zan's not entirely sure it's worked, and so she's trying to crawl back to the pod and stand up, but she's in a severely weakened state now. And before she can, she is discovered by a peacekeeper, a random peacekeeper trooper. And just as she's about to get, shot in the face, this peacekeeper gets shot in the face instead and dies because Aeryn has come back to life. And of course she was, buried with the Qualta blade. So she, her first action coming back to life is to kill a man. Just instantly grab that gun and start blasting. It's cool.
She will live again to keep her friends from being killed. And also Stark too, I guess, if he's here. Yeah.
So Stark regains consciousness around this point and can't even really protest and go hey, that's not I didn't consent to this, Zan, or anything. He's just like, holy shit, it worked.
Well, it's water under the bridge, right? What happened. What are you supposed to do? Aeryn has the glamour hair of the dead. I don't know why. Why has her hair never looked better than when she's back from the grave?
Right? It's not a look she keeps for very long. Her standard look for a while now has had her, her hair pulled tight in a ponytail. But yes, when she's meant to look like holy, I guess this is when the the voluminous hair comes out. But Aeryn immediately runs off after being told like where everyone else is, because there's obviously more peacekeepers to shoot.
Right.
And so Braca is seeing that, hey, some peacekeeper troopers have dropped off my little holo map. Guys are getting killed.
So Scorpius walks over to their pilot and is like, hey, guess what? It's pilot time. And he is vibrating. He is so happy.
Oh, he's so pumped to finally prove himself. So the Scarran has caught up to John and Dargo. He's now outside as well. You know, he's being affected by the cold, but not super quickly, so he's still trying to do the evil hand wave stuff. And John and Dargo are kind of cornered because they're trying to open up a door that is frozen shut. They cannot get this thing open.
So Dargo rushes forward with his little knife, and he finds out that Scarrans are knife-proof.
Yeah, he goes to stab him in the gut, and it just breaks.
Perhaps his knife was weakened by slicing a lock off of that incredible glamour hair during Aeryn's funeral.
Yeah. Yeah, the Scarran just keeps walking forward, is like, you know, backhanding Dargo and stuff. But before he can do much else, Aeryn arrives from behind, just starts blasting him with multiple shots from the Qualta blade. So through all those shots and the attempted stabbing on the Scarran's gut, he now has a small open wound on his tummy. And so John sees that, and he snaps off a big-ass icicle and just rams it into his gut.
Yeah,
cool.
Right into the hole.
Very
the
cool.
hole that I think switches sides at some point. I think some shots of this got mirrored for continuity.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that John sticks this big icicle in and then twists it too.
Yeah, it's a cone. What's twisting
a cone.
it gonna do? But in the middle of that fight, there's a Krace scene, because Krace sees the Marauder flying and gives chase with Talon, and the way he like extends a hand while commanding pursue, and the camera pulls in on him, and he looks so cool. Like, they want us to think Krace is badass now.
Yeah,
like, Krace is getting hero shots.
Yes,
that's significant. Yeah,
like him being added as part as like the main cast shown, you know, in the opening credits, and you go, oh, okay, he looks cool there. I think they're going to try and make him really cool now.
But yes, there has been a team up murder of this Scarran agent.
Yep.
And so John, seeing the living Aeryn Sun, decides, fuck, I got another brain parasite. Shit.
Yeah,
who's tricking me now?
I really hope John keeps that instinct for the rest of the show of, is this a crazy mindfuck alternate reality thing? There's been a lot of these in my life.
He's just playing the odds, right? You can see the argument.
Yeah.
But he's convinced that it's real, that Zan brought her back from the dark. And now it is time for Krace to continue being a super badass in space. Hell yeah, man.
Oh yeah. We're getting a big like chase / dogfight scene of Talon chasing this Marauder. He's in like active communications with Scorpius and everyone else aboard the ship at the same time. The ship is getting close to the command carrier, and Scorpius is delivering all these threats that if he approaches any closer, he's going to rip to shreds. And Krace just goes, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe. I don't give a fuck. And so he just orders Talon to fire on the Marauder, and a single shot just annihilates it. And he immediately calls in going like, killed Scorpius. Got him.
And like flies through the different structures of the command carrier, dodging fire. Like, the command carrier is the scariest thing, right, in it that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And now Talon is shown to be able to like dance between its weapons fire. Talon is a power in every way.
Yep. Everyone on the planet is kind of, you know, regrouping, getting in contact with everyone else to figure out where everyone is and what's everyone's status. And so everyone learns that Grunchlick is dead. He died screaming in a cryotube, so his face is just frozen mid-scream. The Diagnosin also dead. Got his face melted.
I think it is conspicuous. I think it is meaningful that Stark is the one filling everyone in, and there's a little insert shot of Stark walking away from Grunchlik in his eternal scream. Like, this is Stark's punishment for Grunchlik, is leaving him there and not giving him the little shot that he would gladly give everyone else so they can finally cross over.
Yep. There are 2 remaining Interons left. The race of human-like people that were brought up in the season finale and were acting as Jon's donors because they were kind of similar. Jon just wants to take these 2. He's very interested in who these people are and if they have any actual relation to Earth. So, so we cut back to Scorpius. He's fine.
He's fine. Crace just blew up a recording. He shot a radio and thought it was the real Scorpius. He's not actually that cool. You know,
No.
The camera can only do so much when the narrative is doing this.
Yeah.
Corbin's dead as hell, though.
Yeah, Corbin is extremely dead. Scorpius just used him as a decoy. I love the reveal of that so much. It's just really funny to see this guy who's so confident, acting like he's a huge badass, and he just gets used like that and dies a horrible death.
But they got work to do, Scorpius and Braca. They got to get their new Gamic base up and running, crunching the numbers inside this chip full of wormhole facts.
Yep. So the little brain chip is in like a little vial now that Scorpius is just always carrying around, and he loves to touch it to his forehead.
Yeah.
So after the break, we cut back to Moya, and both Jothi and Chiana are approaching Dargo, and Jothi's kind of like pushing Chiana, like, go ahead, fucking talk to him. And she
is just snuggling all over him as they eat stew.
She's being like overly affectionate in a way. It's just like, something's wrong here. And like, even when she's like cuddling up against Dargo, she's making eye contact with Jothi, and they both just have a look on their face like, aw, shit.
Jothi continues to just not have the chill it takes for a secret affair. So in the cargo bay, Jon Crichton is watching these 2 remaining Interons, and Aeryn walks in because they have things to say to each other. Things like, I love you. They both say it to each other.
They say it to each other. Yay.
And neither of them is controlled by a brain genie or anything.
Yay. It's totally actually has meaning this time.
A quote from the writers and producers from an interview after the show is that they didn't want Aeryn and Jon to be a question of if they will get together, but a question of what they will overcome to be together. And the new obstacle that Aeryn puts up after conquering death to make out is that it's bad for team morale to have people catching feelings on a ship like this.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of like making out on the floor, basically. She's saying soldiers and emotional attachments in battle may distort your thinking, and it's one part of her peacekeeper training that she still agrees with. And Jon's just like, we're not in battle right now. We're making out on the floor. Come on.
Come on. Let's make out on the floor. Come on. I'll put a drape over the Interons if that, whatever. They're basically dead.
Yeah.
Does that make it better that they're dead? So yeah, she is insisting that no, this is what she believes, and she's sticking to it because she won't have anyone else sacrifice their life for her. And this is what gets Jon to pay attention, because what the fuck do you mean else? What did you say? What happened?
Yeah. And so we cut to Jon walking into a room where Zan is kind of laying down and being cradled by Stark. And
in like one of the scar tissue chambers from the immolation, right? And they're posed like a classical Greek, like a Renaissance statue, comforting each other. The only points of light. Zan is the only splash of color in this space.
And so John walks in, just kind of stammering, almost just confused, like, "Hey, what the hell has happened here?" And Zan just informs John very calmly, like serenely even, that she donated a lot of spiritual energy to Aeryn in order to bring her back to life. So much so that Zan is dying. Like, not imminently, but she doesn't have much time left. And that's where the episode ends. Damn. Just fades to black after she says, "I'm dying."
She's cool with it. That's the goddess's plan. Y'all don't worry about me. I said she would be all about the right to go out on your own terms. I told you. So that brings us to episode 2 of the 3rd season, Sons and Lovers. This is written by Justin Monjo, writer of Liars, Guns, and Money, Plan B, that's the 3rd part, and The Locket, and now supervising producer on Farscape.
Oh, okay.
It is directed by Andrew Prowse, good old Prowsey, who directed the first part of Liars, Guns, and Money and all of Look at the Princess, and is now co-producer. So how's this one start?
Whew.
Anything fun? Anything normal happening here?
If you put fun in a lot of quotes, sure.
People are having fun. Every character depicted is having a great time.
Yep. Okay, so we start off with Rigel just alone in some room where he is banging on a device. It's like a little, hollow projector for a camera or something. And eventually he gets it to work and the video feed pops up, and what we see is a back view of Chiana getting railed. And at first, because you can't see Chiana's face or anything, I was just like, okay, maybe Rigel isn't being a huge creep and peeping on Chiana having sex. Maybe he has Nabari porn. Maybe he bought Nabari porn, and it's just some random Nabari. They all have kind of similar hairdos, right? No. He's watching Chiana have sex with Jothi. And
it looks like he's watching that scrambled cable porn. That's the framing of it, right? That's the association they're drawing on.
Yep. So,
Chiana's sex noises sound like a squeaky balloon.
Yeah.
If I were in Jothi's position, I would have trouble. I would try to steer things in another direction. I don't know what I would do, but I would have to do something.
And so the camera pulls back, and it's just a very distant shot of Rigel in the distance watching this to make him look extra creepy, because he's watching it in the dark. He's watching it in the dark. He's watching
it in the dark in what appears to be the mess hall.
Yeah, God.
I don't want to know what kind of mess he's making in there, but...
Is everyone else dead ass asleep? Is this 3 a.m? Because someone could walk in on you, Rigel.
He's the only one who gets a midnight snack. He's got 3 stomachs.
Yeah. You know that fucking meme image of like Yoda eating olives and waking up at 2 a.m. to get more olives? We just need... You just have to replace that with Rigel. It's the same thing.
You know, you do bring up a good point. There are at least 2 crew members who are definitely not asleep at this point. And I bet in about 5 to 15 minutes, they're going to want a drink of water.
Yes, this next shot. Wow.
This next shot. This is fucking like, put it on the Animal Logic reel to pick up clients shit. Like, this is a hell of a station. Most of this episode will occur on a free-floating commerce station that looks to be approaching a binary system where a big red star is having its atmosphere pulled off in a blue jet to a point. I guess so this is eventually going to go supernova. That's not what this episode is about. But the amount of open hatches, and there's a moving rail system in between some of the pods that make up this thing, and the different shapes and all the greebling, like this station is so much.
It's a lot. It's a big chunk of this station. Looks like if you just like lifted Midgar out of Final Fantasy VII and then kit bashed it with like 4 other different like spaceship designs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, it's all integrated and coheres somehow. Like, the one weirdest bit, this strangely organic bit popping out, it takes you a second to realize, oh no, that's Moya. Moya is docked on this thing. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yep. So we cut inside to this massive station to a bar that John and Dargo are at. The first shot we get in here is the very, very cool looking bartender. I love this guy making John a drink. And this involves spraying colored liquids into a martini glass with a garden hose. That's just a garden hose painted chrome.
This is Mordil the barkeep. He is played by, as I'm sure you could guess, Thomas Holsgrove, third character in 2 episodes today. This is one of his favorite makeups because he could actually see out of it.
Yeah. It's every other part of him that's covered in a shitload of makeup and animatronics and shit.
Also, he's a pretty major character. He has a lot of lines. It's the first time we're hearing Thomas Holsgrove's actual voice.
Oh, okay.
Doing this comedy Russian accent, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me more about Mordil, aside from his garden tool based setup here.
So Mordil is very large dude. His face is pretty, humanoid, but he has like just this massive like double chin, long hair, with a fun hat with a big spike coming out of the top of it.
And a tassel.
But the big notable thing here is he's kind of like a big hunchback, but the big hunch is where his 6 arms come out of. His 6 arms, and it's awesome. I love it.
There's fun stuff about like the puppeteers talking about how they were all coordinated on mixing these drinks, passing from one hand to another who's a whole other person, and shaking things up and pouring them out and presenting them. And then they hear cut. Their heads pop up from above the bar, and it's just a huge mess. Everything's spilled.
Oh, God. Great.
When you get the full picture, he looks like a tarantula man. Like his hunch is so big, the thorax where all these many arms come out of. Yeah.
He reminds me of like a bulkier version of the spider guy from Spirited Away a little. The guy shoveling coal or whatever.
And his little walrus mustache and his big bushy eyebrows.
Yeah. And so John, while being handed this drink, is kind of complaining about the stressful situation he's in. And basically this is just a little bit of exposition to show that the main goal of the crew right now is to find a planet with a doctor or an environment that will allow Zan to heal herself and recuperate and not die.
Which is when Dargo runs in, because he's been side questing as they stop off here on the pit stop.
Yeah.
He has union tattoos.
Oh boy. Yes. This is a Luxon thing where it's when you are getting married or, just in a permanent relationship, you both brand yourself with a giant ass tattoo. And
it's got 2 parts. It's got an inner part and an outer part so that like they come together. And I don't like this prop. It looks very much like the block of foam that I'm sure at its heart it is.
Yeah, this looks very foam-like, definitely. The fact that it does get used later and like sears flesh, like I wish it looked metallic in any way.
Yes.
But there's no like specularity to it or anything to indicate that. It just looks like it's made out of foam.
But Dargo is an excited little schoolboy about this idea. And John, through his drunken stupor, tries to broach the idea that sometimes people say no to things.
Yeah. Yeah. And also at the same time while this is happening, the giant station they're on every once in a while just shakes kind of hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And also there's a quick cut to some other people at the bar, a man and woman in similar attire, like black outfits with...
just wearing wide nylon straps, essentially.
Yeah, wide nylon straps and weird tattoos and markings and the same like big contact lenses to give him alien eyes. And they're looking at John in the like, hey, we saw you from across the room and like your vibe way. That's not what happens in this episode, thank God. But that's what I immediately first thought.
They must have loved Mordill's makeup, because so much of what you'd expect to be shot reverse shot is instead head on with like... We're watching this one episode rando's reaction to this scene between our bros.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, even though John, posits the idea of like, what she might say no, but then he kind of backs off of that because Dargo's in such a giddy, happy mood. It's like, oh no, it's that wouldn't happen though. Never mind. She probably wouldn't, but yeah, I don't know. She could say no, though.
Yeah. So we hard cut to her crying out in the passionate throes of lovemaking in front of the Interon corpses. Freak shit.
John and Aeryn didn't go this far. They just made out a little. This is like they laid out a big rug.
They collapse in post-coital release, and she starts sucking on his chin nubbin. Freak shit.
It's real freak shit. And even Jothay's a little weirded out. Like, why are we fucking in the really, really cold room with dead bodies in it? And the answer is, hey, Dargo doesn't like the cold, so that it'll take longer for him to maybe make his way to this room, so we have a greater chance of getting out of here and not getting caught. To which Jothay also goes, I hate the cold too, though. It sucks.
So Zan and Stark have made it to the bar, and Stark is like giving the delivery staff like a $30,000 tip.
Yes.
Stark owns.
Yeah. Like Zan just goes, that was a shitload of money you gave him. And his response is just, the servant class is never rewarded enough. You're right. You're right, Stark. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So the idea with all of this cash they're all throwing around is like, okay, yeah, Grunschlick was charging an arm and a leg and a few other parts beside for the medical treatment, right? Well, he's fucking dead. And so's Tokat. They got free medical care.
Yay.
And so now they have all the loot from the Shadow Depository burning a hole in their pocket.
It all worked out.
Uh-huh.
And the entire station like shakes again. Before Stark insists that, like, hey, we need to look around for info so that we can find a planet where you can recuperate. You're a plant lady, a place with a lot of really nice, nutrient-rich soil for you to, like, bury yourself in or something. And Zan is insistent, like, no, let's not do that. Instead, get me some booze. That's what I need right now. I need a drink.
So Aeryn comes in. All of our crew is now present and accounted for. And it's like, hey, Zan looks sick as shit. I bought a lot of guns, by the way.
Yeah. She actually traded like some pulse pistols for some different, more like crazier guns or something. But then someone just goes, "Oh, John Crichton, is that you?" And it's the two weirdos in the black outfits with the straps, and the lady of the two here just starts listing off all the things that she's heard John Crichton supposedly do. Destroy a Gamic base, rob and destroy a depository and all this stuff. And John's trying to play it off as like, I have no idea who you're talking about, until she starts insulting the character of the supposed John Crichton. And John's drunk enough to go, no, I didn't do that. Shut up. I did something way cooler.
It was Natira that popped all the eyeballs. I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah. And so John and Aeryn and Dargo are all starting to reach for their weapons until this lady goes...
The massive tarantula man just lowers down and hides behind the bar.
Yeah. And the tension is rising until she goes, "Oh, hell yeah. I loved all that shit you did. I hate peacekeepers." And then she buys a round of drinks for everybody. Again, the space station shakes a little more violently this time. People lose their balance a little.
And then the whole fucking place falls apart. Girders fall through the ceiling and crush people. Sparks shower. And we cut to, again, the brand new Season 3 titles in the midst of the station quake.
I'm glad one of the 3 or 4 quick cuts for showing Aeryn is her in slow-mo shooting that giant waist-mounted gun of hers.
Yes!
Kicks ass.
In the Shadow Depository, yes.
Yeah, that's a really good shot. But after the opening, everything has settled as much as it can when a whole space station just starts falling apart. So John and everyone else are fine. Aeryn was just pinned under a little bit of rubble, but she's not harmed. And they are starting to search for other survivors. And the kindly Spider-Man bartender is bleeding. He's hurt. Oh no!
He's been punctured.
No.
And of course, Moya was docked to the station, so who knows what's going on out there with how this shake has affected the docking area. We gotta check on that right quick.
Mm-hmm. And so Pilot immediately goes, because there's only 2 people aside from Pilot on the ship right now, and that's Chiana and Jothi. So he's calling for Chiana to hey, can you go fix the hatch breach on tier 7 or whatever? And you see her head peek up over a crate in the cargo bay or whatever, still in the middle of putting all of her clothes on. And Dargo's talking over comms to ask if Jothi's okay too, and she's like, yeah, he's fine, as Jothi is still completely shirtless. And so Chiana's running off to go fix this hatch, and Jothi is just wait, look at this shit. And the horrible shake that just happened that also shook Moya has caused one of the pods with the interons in it to open, and the guy inside is starting to wake up.
Jothi must think he was laying it down so good he raised the dead.
Yeah. And so Chiana's telling him to stay here and keep an eye on the guy and try and take care of him. All Jothi can worry about is, hey, what if this guy heard us fucking? He knows that we fucked in here. And I feel like this scene does show that there is a difference between Chiana and Jothi in level of maturity here, because Jothi is all worried about this shit. And Chiana is just shut up and just do the thing. I really have to go fix the spaceship we're in now. I'm going to go fix it.
He doesn't have what it takes. He doesn't have what it takes.
She just feels a little more grown up in this scene than him.
Also, you get the sense that ultimately he is his father's son. He cannot have a no strings attached sexual relationship. He is going to catch feelings and catch them hard. Yep.
And so Chiana starts marching down the hallway when she walks past Rigel. Wow, this is a scene because
this scene's weird.
This scene's weird. So okay, it's not that they just walk past each other. Chiana accidentally collides with Rigel, and he says, "Watch yourself, slut." Jesus.
Rigel, the word is Tralk. We've established this in the lore.
Yeah. And so
that's another reason the weird space swears work is that it's just you can get away with the implications and the shades of meanings in words that are fake words. They can be anything. You can't fudge these things when you're saying, when Rigel says the word slut. It doesn't sound right coming out of his mouth, and it's so harsh and nasty.
It is, yeah. And so obviously after he says that, Chiana goes, "What the fuck did you say?"
No, really, what did you say? Is that one of John's words? I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. And Rigel just tries to blow it off and go do whatever thing Zan was asking him to do, but she stops him And he just says, hey, I heard you. I knew that you're in the freezer chamber and doing all this other shit. And then he says another line that's just gross to hear Rigel say.
With you, Raj.
I heard you.
You heard nothing.
Freezer chamber. Young half-breed. Any of this getting you wet?
Ugh.
Jesus Christ, Rigel.
Blah. I don't want to hear Rigel asking people if they're wet. Don't do that.
Like, this is the first time Rigel's really severely disapproved of Chiana. Like, he's always been in her corner. She's the snurchin buddy. And also, we saw what faces you were making. You have no room to judge. That's your Cinemax. What are you talking about?
Yeah. If anything, he should tip her or something. I don't know.
Show feet. Like,
mm-hmm.
Is there chat on the clamshell?
God, Chiana going, hot dog, yum, or whatever the fuck that bullshit was last year. That works extra good for Rigel because it's food. He loves food.
Yes, ice cream is so good. You're right.
So yeah, Chiana's like slamming Rigel up against the wall, threatening him. And Rigel tells her that he doesn't even have to tell Dargo anything. He's not going to, because he's going to figure it out on his own, because Luxons have a really good sense of smell, and he's going to smell his son all over you. Mm-hmm. Oof.
Now, you would think that this station quake that, has just torn this thing asunder into 1,000 pieces in another fantastic, digital matte establishing shot here would be the A plot. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Wrong. You are wrong.
Yeah.
The affair is the A plot.
Mm-hmm. Which is so wild because these shots they look so expensive. And to do them for the B plot, like this specific shot of the station all ripped apart is so detailed. There are so many individually modeled little assets just floating everywhere to sell, how horribly ripped apart this thing is.
And you compare that to the Flax, where a whole ship graveyard is a really cool flat image tweening.
Yeah, the camera's moving through this thing a little bit, So yeah, back in the bar, Zan is doing whatever first aid she can on the barkeep.
Well, there's one significant thing bridging these two scenes. Dargo is sailing around in a transport pod to get eyes in the sky on the exterior, finding just massive destruction, no survivors, but he does find a cool little spaceship that he asks Moya to yank in on the docking web.
Right, yeah.
But yes, Zan is attending to the barkeep. And now there's a still moment where we try to figure out what happened, and there is debate.
Yeah, at the start of this episode, there's a very quick part where John is asking the barkeep, hey, what the hell is all this shaking? And it's just, the answer was, it's just a storm. There's some random storm that happens here every once in a while, but it's pretty light and it gives the station a little shake, but that's it. And it'll pass soon. And then that's when the one surviving weird person in black, who I cannot remember the name of, or if she has a name for her race or whatever, I forget.
Her name is Borlick. This individual's named Borlick. She is played by Leanna Walsman, who is best known as Zam Wessel, the shape-shifting assassin, who prefers to use poison millipedes in the opening sequence of Attack of the Clones.
Ha! Okay. Borlack starts talking about how she believes that the cause of this wasn't just a random storm. This is a curse. There were 3 commerce stations near these twin suns in the past, and 2 of them have been destroyed by one was destroyed by asteroids, one burned to a crisp or whatever. And she believes it is because these stations are in an area called
Sacred Stillness.
Yeah, the Sacred Stillness, where some say the great gods were born. And the barkeep thinks that's all horse shit. It's just an unfortunate accident, just a storm that got really bad.
And storms that are getting increasingly bad, and storms that are speeding up sometimes. So, It sounds like they're describing a storm weapon, but no one ever brings that up. So clearly, it's the correct thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's just bad luck, if you ask Mordil.
Yeah. So back on Moya, Jothi is talking to the recently awakened Interon.
Yes.
He's up and about.
He's got a glass of water.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing Jothi knew what to do was just give him a glass of water.
Jothi, still shirtless, just walking around with his fringy little skirt.
He's had time. That shirt has to be in here, right? If you're planning to hide your affair, dude, you got to keep all your clothes real close so you can slam them on and jump out a window.
You went out somewhere to get that glass of water.
Yeah. Use the rug you brought in. I don't know. Well, the rug is probably all nasty. Never mind.
So it starts with him asking about, like, you know, what this guy remembers about his experience and, you know, how he wound up in a verge of death coffin.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, so, you know, more recently, suppose, did you hear anything that you think might have happened today? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude says,
I sensed some movement, kind of a thumping sound. It didn't last long.
and then he immediately starts gagging and projectile vomits all over Jothi's stomach and crotch.
Mm-hmm.
You ever have someone call you a two-pump chump and then puke themselves to death all over you?
You make me sick, Jothi.
Why couldn't you just think of baseball? God damn it.
Before the Interon asked, that question from Jothi, he was describing his last memories before, he died, which was, I have no idea if this is important. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but he was on some sort of expedition with a couple other characters that he names before he got sick. And yeah,
boy, did he get sick.
Boy, he got real sick.
I love Jothi rubbing his stomach with the shiny gold lame rag. That's not absorbent.
You're just moving that puke around. If anything, you're just massaging it into your stomach. Don't do that. So meanwhile, Chiana's doing actual work in fixing the ship and being the responsible adult right now.
And as she's sealing the hatch, this is a hatch with a window, and she looks across and she sees another window where a small child is similarly trapped in a part of the station, banging and crying for help. This character is simply credited as Alien Girl.
Uh-huh.
Alien Girl is played by Jessica Fallico, who is continuing to be an actor, but is also director of a lot of the Australian productions of big Broadway commercial hits.
Oh, wow. Cool.
She has directed productions of Legally Blonde, Wicked, Kinky Boots, Shrek the Musical.
Woo. So we cut back to the bar, and the barkeep is talking about, hey, so yeah, there is a nursery in the station where parents would drop their kids off while they're doing shopping and stuff. So if that little girl is trapped in there, there's probably a whole lot of other kids that may have survived that we really need to rescue. Mm-hmm. Only every normal pathway to that area of the station has completely collapsed.
Right. Yeah.
And so the only way to potentially get to them is John and Aeryn team up. And they just start traveling.
They climb in a
big
tube.
A big tube. Well, I am going to dub the relationship tube. That's its purpose.
You are not wrong. So
yeah, John and Aeryn go in there. Chiana's back in the cargo bay and asking, hey, what the fuck did you do? When she sees a guy out of the tube laying dead on the ground with black puke just all pouring out of his mouth and all over the floor.
And her first thought is that Jothi is killing witnesses to hide their affair.
Yeah.
No, he just did that.
He just died.
Sometimes interons just do that, I think. I don't know.
And in the middle of this argument, Dargo calls and says, hey, I need you guys to, get the cargo bay prepared.
I found a cool spaceship. Go look at it.
yeah, I'm going to bring in this spaceship and I need you to check it out. Chiana, trying to fix this awful, shitty situation, she just demands Jotham to go bathe. Like, right now, get the smell of me off of you. And also the puke.
Yeah. This argument about whether it is prudent to go take a shower right now that they have, it seems solved by the puke, right?
Yep.
This shouldn't be, there should be no disagreement over whether it's time to shower.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the relationship tube we first see on the inside, it is lightly full of smoke. It is like your ribbed aluminum like construction thing. So there's visual texture as the beams of light cross it. I love a smoky tube. It just looks good.
Can that be the episode title? I love a smoky tube.
I love a smoky tube.
So yes, as Aeryn and John are climbing through the smoky tube, Aeryn starts just bringing up her and John's relationship, to which John is just like, this seems like a weird time to do this.
This is a tube sized for 1.5 people. There are close quarters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Aeryn thinks it's a great time because it's a tube for the two of them and no one else. So it's a nice private environment.
It's a tube.
And so Aeryn just says, I know the pressures of living close. Like she's bringing up the thing she brought up in the previous episode of just like, hey, all these relationships just put us in more danger. So she's bringing up just like, hey, what's the way of relieving that tension? Like how we did it back when I was a peacekeeper. And so she just straight up asks John, hey, you want to have sex?
Well, first she suggests they, quote, reduce fluid levels.
Ugh, yeah.
Oh, baby, you're so romantic. But yes, her solution for how they can't be together romantically is to take a page out of Chiana's book, I guess, and have no feelings, just bare sexual relationships, much like in the Peacekeeper days with Velarak, and we know how well that went for everyone.
Oh yeah,
fluid levels.
They get jostled in the tube a bit because the ship the station is still shaking, so they go sliding down the relationship tube and then they climb back up, and they're all sweaty and dirty already, and they're getting
collapsing into each other's limbs in the tight little tube.
Yep. John's behind her and he's starting to put his arms around her after, just previously, just a minute ago, saying he doesn't think this is a good time to do this. He tells her he can release all the tension he wants with both his hands. He can alternate even. So he doesn't need any charity.
He also says this while stroking gently her décolletage. So there's some mixed emotions. There are a lot of tensions. Fluid levels are rising. And when this discussion starts, you would believe because it is reasonable to believe Aeryn is talking about later, once the current crisis is done, before we go to sleep tonight, let's try. She means now. She means in the tube.
Yeah, she gets annoyed at John, like acting like, no, we shouldn't do this, because she gets to the terminus of the tube, the tube terminus, where there's like standing room. She can just stand straight up. So she stands up, she turns around and faces John and asks him like, hey, what are you afraid of? This? And she goes to like completely unzip her vest and she almost gets everything out. And then she just falls to the floor.
Just a knack for timing, these two. Yeah, she just plummets to the level below.
Yep.
So that's our commercial cliffhanger as she's fallen into a second, more horizontal tube.
And so, at this point of the episode, for the rest of the episode, Aeryn's going to go on her own deeper into this tube to find the kids, which means for the rest of the plot, Aeryn is relegated to walking through a tube. Every time we check in on Aeryn, she's just walking in deeper into the tube and going, I'm further in the tube, I can hear the kids a little bit more. Nothing else happens with Aeryn in the tube. She's just walking in the tube.
Let me tell you, she eventually gets to the end of the tube.
She gets to the end of the tube and she finds those kids.
But Pilot comes in after like crunching some numbers, and yes, there is another storm on the way. It took a 90-degree turn to point at them, so that's suspicious. Mm-hmm. But we also have like the exact ticking clock for how much time there is to help people. If that's even what we want to do, Rigel is the voice of dissent.
Yeah, he wants to leave. Fuck this. Yeah, everyone else that wants to stay, they want to help. They can't just leave Mordil to die or the kids to die. I'm already forgetting the weird lady's name again. Gorlak?
Borlik. B-O-R-L-I-K. Borlik.
Borlik. There's this whole thing that comes up through Borlik talking with the barkeep, talking about the sacred stillness and how, you know, this has been an issue with the religion that worships this area, and how, hey, maybe there's been a couple times in the past that this barkeep in the station has had to deal with, say, like religious extremists or terrorists or whatever attacking the station.
This weird militant cult. Yeah.
And how, hey, there's like some kind of weird signal getting broadcasted from somewhere in this station, and that signal might be what's pulling the storms towards the ship, the station. But there's no way they can find it in just 2 hours.
John says, fuck that. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
But anyhow, back on Moya, Dargo has towed in his special cool salvage ship and is getting everybody to look at it. And it has a wiggly force shield. This ripple effect is really good. Like, I am saying this with all sincerity. The digital effects have hit another plateau as we've reached another season.
Every effect shot is legitimately just great at this point. Not even just, oh, it was good for the time. Like, this still looks good. So both Jothi and Chiana are here with Dargo, and they're both armed with rifles because there might be something hostile in the ship. We don't know. But Dargo gets distracted because he smells something, and he's really trying to track it down. And it's emanating from his son, from Jothi. And Jothi, smooth as ever, goes, I bathed twice. Twice I did.
And so he tries the cool dad maneuver of like ribbing his kid for putting on the smelly shit, and it goes as you'd expect. His cool teenage son doesn't want to be teased like that. He just walks off.
I just love the like line deliveries from Dargo here.
Yeah, well, you smell very nice.
Give me a break.
No, really, you do. You smell
Shut up.
just...
You find your own way to the Frelly ship.
Jothi! I was only teasing. Jothi!
Come on, Jothi!
Yeah, come on. I was just teasing. Come on. Like, it's him being big dad mode in that scene.
Yeah. And he's a very big dad. He's like 7 feet tall.
It's Jothi just storms off with the gun, and he walks over to Chiana and turns to her, and he's a little awkward, and he just says, "You're looking attractive," and also,
nice.
You look happy, and she's been frowning this entire scene, and she just says, "I'm not."
But Dargo is taking this opportunity, having like found his cooler head, to come up and apologize for being so short and being not understanding. And he really tries to transition into the proposal he's been preparing for weeks. And Chiana shuts that shit right down.
Yeah, she just tells him several times that she knows he's ready to talk, but she's not ready, and she wants him to respect that. And he goes along with it. He respects it. But after Chiana leaves, he just lets out a deep sigh, like, God damn it.
He's very frustrated, and they're in this really awkward position where it's really hard to talk through a problem when nobody knows what the problem is.
Yeah. So back on the station, they have borrowed a majority of the DRDs from Moya, and they're having them just search through the whole station.
That's John's big plan, DRD search party.
It's a good idea.
It's great.
And Stark has like one DRD for himself that he will be using shortly. But Zan's there, and she's kind of like slumping over a bit. She looks a little exhausted, and this whole episode, she's had like a head wrap on.
Yeah,
and he wants to check on how she's doing, and Zan just keeps pushing him away. Like, I'm fine. Don't look at it. Don't do anything. Until Stark does the thing he does, which he goes a little fucking crazy to get what he wants, and he screams at her to show her like her head now. Or show him her head. And so
she peels her headscarf off, and it's slimy, gooey in there. Oh.
It's gross. But yeah, she's just got all these horrible, like, weeping sores, like, opening all over her scalp. And Stark is seeing it, and he's freaking out a little bit because it's advancing faster than he thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
And he swears to her he will find a planet for her to recuperate on. Zan's really trying to get Stark to calm down and accept what's happening, especially because, as she says, he's the expert on death. And there's a line I like here where he says,
"You're the expert here. You've witnessed more death than anyone else. So many dissatisfied souls dying before they felt ready."
Yes, I'm an expert on dying. I'm just not an expert on you dying.
Oh. Meanwhile, Aeryn's in the tube.
She's tubing.
She finds a puzzle that's ripped out of mist. That's got a bunch of little dots.
And Morgul just
circles.
gives her the answer, and then she keeps walking down the tube.
Yeah. So back on Moya, oh boy.
The happy family find each other in the cargo bay, near the dead Interon lying in his pool of his own vomit. And what happens is Dargo walks in, and they start acting squirrely, and he's like, "But I thought you said blah, blah, blah," and they act a little squirrelier, and it all adds up to where it all comes out. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. Like, as soon as Chiana's like, "What did Rigel tell you?" That's when Dargo figures it out. Mm-hmm.
Dargo pulls out one of the brands or whatever he got. The Union.
The Union tattoos.
Yeah.
It says local 312 on it.
You know, Dargo is like in a state now where both Jothi and Chiana are a little scared of him because it looks like he's going to do something scary.
Yeah. And so he starts monologuing about what this means, this symbol of loyalty and connection, and, you know, honor, and says, "Hey, Chiana, you're never going to get this." Mm-hmm. But my boy, though.
Yeah. And so he just takes this giant brand, this giant tattoo, and slams it into Jothi's stomach and sears his flesh.
There's an unspoken element of like, try and deny this Luxon shit, huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You ever brand someone with an ironic symbol of loyalty?
So yeah, he burns that into Jothi, throws him down to the floor, and Chiana's like pleading with him, trying to explain everything to him. And he stops her, and he just tells both her and his son that he will never listen to anything either of them say ever again. Like, they have completely broken all trust and bonds with him, and they are nothing to him now.
And the reversal of it, right, where he's always trying to, like, he was Chiana's boyfriend, but there's a lot of times where he felt more like a dad, right?
Yeah.
Like giving her advice, trying to steer her, and her saying, "No, I do what I want." Like, one of her seductive lines to Jothi in the last episode is, "I do what I want." Mm-hmm. And now it's Dargo saying, "You will never tell me what to do."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as Dargo is walking away, Chiana shouts for him one more time. He stops and turns around, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know what it was that I was smelling before. It was like a broken coupling on the cryo chamber or whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
They were found out entirely by their own behavior.
Mm-hmm. So back on the station, Stark's fucking around with a little DRD, and he's got it working so that it can pick up the weird signal that's getting broadcast and drawing storms in.
Did you notice the way they talk about this DRD?
No.
This is, if you'll notice, this is the DRD from Premiere that has the eye stalk repaired with the blue painter's tape.
Yeah.
And they call it One Eye. This DRD has a name.
Oh my God. That completely went over my head. I missed it. That's great. The special boy.
Starting this season, expect a number of individualized DRDs with names.
Aww.
That's going to be a thing now.
Yay. Stark is just, holding this DRD in both his hands and just spinning around in circles trying to track where the signal is coming from as the DRD starts beeping more and more. And I love its one little claw arm. It just wiggles around like it's accusing people of things.
J'accuse! Beep, 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 beep.
And so eventually he turns around and it starts beeping faster and more intensely when it's pointing at Borlick.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like starting to try to run away from everyone, just pleading.
She's denying she's running. She's climbing all over the wrecked furniture. But then everyone pulls guns. The jig is up.
Yeah.
So she starts performing a religious chant.
Yep.
Which then allows her to fly to the ceiling.
She begins to levitate and then like magnetizes herself to a part of the ceiling, and she's just stuck up there.
It would be easier to be religious if you got levitation powers out of it. I feel like that would help church membership numbers really start jumping.
Yeah. Also, I gotta say, this episode and the previous episode, there's a lot of wire stunts in them.
Yeah,
There's quite a lot of people getting thrown around by wires. But after the commercial break, we see that, yes, she is still, like, glued to the ceiling. And she's, like, in a trance-like state where her eyes have rolled in the back of her head, and she's just doing this chant over and over. And everyone else is kind of just, like, yanking on her leg, going, like, can we get her down? As she keeps doing this chant in the background.
Because her body is the node that is pulling the storm. So Rigel prefers the direct approach. Let's cut her into little bitty pieces, pull them all off the pipe, and go.
And every once in a while, in the middle of her chanting, she will actually Borlick will say something to taunt everyone. And Rigel floats right up next to her in his little hover chair. And he just starts ramming her with his head. And I really love the amount of camera shake they add to this when they do quick cuts of several different angles of Rigel ramming his little puppet head into her.
Got
like
some oomph on that throne sled.
It's this devastating force, it feels. Rigel hitting things at ramming speed. But it's not working.
4 inches of wind up, yeah.
Yeah, it's not working. Borlick even says that even if she is killed, her body will still act as a point for, pulling in the storm. Rigel just takes like a cloth and stuffs it in her mouth so she will at least be quiet because her chant is annoying everyone.
And John Crichton comes up with this incredible understanding of magnetism that could only come from an IASA scientist.
Yeah.
Her magnetic attraction is attuned to the specific space alloy that is making up the pipe. It's all pipes, baby. That she's clung to. So his idea is to get a bigger amount of the same metal, and she'll stick to that instead.
Yeah.
No thought about, the inverse of the square or anything like that. No, just bigger thing, more metal, same metal, important, same metal.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, John is calling a pilot looking for any source of that metal, and it turns out the cryopods, all the Interons are just lined with this stuff, and they're huge.
Mm-hmm. And they've got a spare one now, yeah.
Yeah, one of them died, so kick ass. Meanwhile, Aeryn's in the tube.
Doesn't matter, though.
Anyways. But there's another problem on top of getting this lady off the ceiling and sticking her to a different chunk of metal is Moya
is covered in cables, just tangled in a mess of connections that is binding her like a Spider-Man villain to this a doomed station. And Pilot's been trying to call up Dargo to go do an EVA and take care of this shit, but he's not picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And so John hops back over to Moya and finds Dargo in the mess hall and is like, hey, big guy, have you considered like setting aside your emotions for a bit so that we don't all die in half an hour? And the answer to that is no.
Yeah,
no,
Dargo,
I will not.
Dargo just says, guess we all die then.
Yeah.
Dargo's also like briefly a little mad at John too, because John comes into this conversation knowing what has happened, and Dargo is wondering how long John knew, like if he was keeping his secret. And no, it's just Rigel knew, and he told me like right before I walked over.
Mm-hmm. There's a beat in this conversation where Dargo is, of course, being drunk and surly and lashing out, saying, well, why don't you send Jothi and Chiana? They love to be together. They can take care of it. And John has to respect the fact of it and not respond to the meaning of it, and says, well, they can't because they aren't as strong as you or like as smart and as brave as you. He starts trying to gas up his friend, and Dargo hates that. Like, don't you dare try to make me feel good right now. Shut up.
Yep. He wants to be miserable in this situation.
Yeah.
And so John and Chiana and Jothi are pushing the big cryopod through Moya into the to load it up and bring it to the station. And John's really justifiably pissed off at both of them, like just pointing fingers at them, like, hey, what the fuck were you doing? What were you thinking? Do you know what you did?
Meanwhile, Aeryn's in the tube.
But yeah, like John just straight up tells Jothi and Chiana, like, hey, you betrayed the one person who would have done anything for you. Like literally anything. They're both just like dead ass quiet, just looking down at their shoes, basically, not saying anything.
Anyhow, Dargo has had a moment alone to think and to continue to drink. So he is walking down a passageway to go do this EVA and save the day yet again, because he's motherfucking Dargo. But he is not in a state where I would trust him to do heavy labor. No. Someone is going to get severely hurt.
So yeah, Dargo's like beginning depressurization and stuff. He's going to go out into space. He's got a breathing mask with him in case he's got to be out there for longer than 15 minutes, whatever. And Pilot's asking Dargo, like, hey, why are you doing this now? I thought, John said that you weren't going to do it. I love this bit where you get this quick shot of Pilot asking Dargo, like, why? And he's got this really skeptical, like, suspicious look on his face. Like, why are you doing this?
He does not get an answer.
Yeah, Dargo just says, goodbye, Pilot, and then walks out. And so we get Dargo walking on the exterior of Moya in what's a new little set. Again, we're going to get more wire stunts here.
Wire stunts involving wires. He is again clearing cables and such.
Back in the bar, Rigel's still like up in Borlick's face, and she's doing all this bullshit talking about repenting and stuff. And Rigel just like looks at the camera practically and goes like, I was a Dominar. It'd take me a lot longer than that to repent. And he does the shittiest, smuggest little Muppet face he can muster. It's so funny. This shitty little face he makes. He's so tickled by what he said.
So yeah, they're wheeling in this big hunk of the same sort of space steel that is the newly empty cryopod. And just by Looney Tunes rules, it works as soon as John describes how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, she just gets sucked up into the pod and they slam the door shut on her. It's really goofy. Now they're taking the pod and they're going to go load it back up into Moya, and they're just going to dump this lady out into space and fly away. But Dargo's still working on all the wires and also the big tubes that are attached as well.
Yeah. Fuel or air resupply or whatever. But they're locked to ports, so they seem more functional than the wreckage that got slapped around.
Mm-hmm. Dargo's almost done, but there's one more cable left to deal with, and it's a cable that's been severed and is, like, still live.
And the way to get this clear safely for the rest of the ship is for these cables to neutral out, which means he has to touch them to each other and cause a giant discharge.
Mm-hmm.
And Chiana is in command on the comms trying to say just how much of a bad idea that is.
Yeah, she's just screaming and pleading. Dargo is still wheeling the pod into Moya, and he keeps telling Dargo, like, whoa, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to come out there to help you. And Dargo doesn't listen to anyone. He just touches those wires, massive discharge, and he just goes limp and floats out into space. The only reason why he doesn't keep just going is that he's tethered to Moya.
Wow. Says a lot, huh?
Whoa.
Think about it.
Whoa.
But yeah, the last words he says to Chiana are, again, you can never tell me what to do. John gets a goodbye, but no, nothing for her.
Yep. And so now John is gearing up to go out there and check on Dargo and also free up the last cable. And Jothi runs in just like really scared and asking John if his dad is dead. And John has no time for this bullshit.
Yeah.
He doesn't want Jothi out there because he's a liability. He's going to have to just spend more time rescuing a second person.
Yeah. You're not rated for this. You're not trained.
Mm-hmm.
How long can a half-Luxon stay in vacuum? I don't know, 30 seconds? 7 minutes? No one knows. Shut up. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Everyone is very tense. At some point in this, even Pilot says, I would shut up and stop wasting time, Commander.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Pilot is sassy by default now, but still respectful enough to use John's title.
Yes. Meanwhile, Aeryn's in the tube.
But the thing that gets me about this whole sequence is that Chiana is just pacing and flapping her arms. She doesn't know what to do with herself. There's nothing she can do. Every time she tries to offer advice, it's already been handled because all of these people are good in exactly this kind of crisis. Mm-hmm. It's just the sort of thing where good might not be enough, right? That storm is coming right now.
Yeah.
And Aeryn's in the tube. But
Aeryn finally reaches the end of the tube, actually.
Uh-huh.
She finds the hatch that leads to where all the kids are, and she can hear them all like yelling for help and stuff.
And there is a keypad on the side of the wall that is clearly just a clock radio.
It super is.
I think I had one just like it.
It's one of those props that's pretty weak, and like if you don't look at Claudia Black actually push the buttons on it because it shakes and gets pushed around very easily by her jabbing it with her finger. But she needs the code, and Mordil has it, but he's dying. He's all he can say is that he's seeing God, and he's going to him, and then he dies. So
instead, it's time for Plan B. Aeryn pulls out the space blunderbuss that she traded for on the station.
This gun really looks like they just got a prop flintlock pistol and colored it chrome.
Yeah,
that's a space flintlock pistol.
Mm-hmm. It's for all the pirates out there. But yeah, she shoots the hatch and it swings open, and she collapses in shock, saying, "Frel me dead."
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very pirate thing to say. And inside that hatch, guess what? It's the new main cast members. Welcome, Moya babies.
Moya babies. The last one that walks in the frame, there's 4 of them. Looks like fucking Cindy Lou Who. She's got like that same hair.
Aeryn has saved the daycare at the mall for people who want to shop but don't want their damn kids around while they do it.
So Chiana's pacing back and forth, just asking John over and over again if he's gotten to Dargo, and John's answer is no. I'm trying to save the rest of us first, and then I'll check on Dargo.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big shake from the station that also vibrates through Moya, and it throws John off Moya. And he's not tethered to the ship at all. So he's just about to get cast into space when Dargo, still alive, like runs in from off frame and catches him.
Hell yeah.
And then the two of them together grab the last big tube and unlatch and throw it off. And just in time, because like they need to divert the storm like right now, or else it's going to be too late. And so John's going for the hatch to get back inside, and he stops, looks behind him, and he sees that Dargo is just sitting on Moya.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
And so he sits down next to Dargo and asks him just like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? When you see Dargo's face, like, you know, most of it's covered up by his respirator, but his eyes are just to the side looking off into the distance, and you can tell that he's like not there really. Like he's just really deep in despair right now, and he's like disassociating almost or something.
Anyway, Aeryn's in the tube with
Aeryn's
kids.
in the tube, yes, racing through the tube as it shakes.
But the brief shot, like down the tube with Aeryn pulling up the rear, the kids running ahead of her, all breaking the light coming in the end into radial sections. This is why I love a smoky tube. Smoky tubes always look good.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, everyone's racing back to Moya and stuff. John has brought Dargo back inside, who is just slumped up against the wall, like sitting on the floor. Jothi and Chiana run in, and they're both so worried about Dargo.
Yeah. And so John leaves him with Chiana because he has other Action Man business to do today. And all Dargo can do is, with his weakened voice from this exposure, is to just tell them, go away. I never want to see either of you again.
Yeah, and he does it in a way to like give them a brief amount of hope for just a split second, because he goes like, hey, come here, and like gestures toward them to lean close, and then he just breaks it up as, I want you to, and then after a pause he just like tries as hard as he can to just yell at them, like, just get the fuck away from me, get out of my life. Meanwhile,
anyway, damn it, the cat went up the tree again.
Yeah, it sure did. The lady bust out of the pod and she magnetized herself to a part of Moya. And she's so happy.
She's having a great time. She's exactly the same height up in a nook on Moya instead of the station, at exactly the same angle of the curved ceiling.
Yep.
Enough that it makes me wonder if they built that set inside this set, right?
Oh, yeah. I wonder.
And so, yeah, she's ranting about cleansing the stillness from the sins of commercialism. She's very upset that they built a mall inside her holy place. And who wouldn't be? And John is just not having it.
Yeah, and he just continues to walk out. He's like, yeah, you're scaring me a ton right now. It's really awful. We're all going to die. And he just tells her, hey, so the thing you're magnetized to is a door that we can just like detach from the ship. And she just starts freaking out as John orders Pilot to, quote, suck this bitch out into space, I think, or something like that. And so you get this shot of Moya like racing away from the storm that's chasing them. And a quick cut to Pilot cackling evilly.
Can someone check on Pilot? Is Pilot okay?
As he hits the button that ejects this lady into space, and then she instantly explodes and dies horribly.
Suck this bitch out!
Pilot's been under a lot of pressure lately.
Yeah, he sure has. Every week they're about to die, so...
Yeah. Horrible things happen to the ship that he is a biological part of. It can't be good for you. So our final act of the episode begins, we fade up on Aeryn exiting the tube.
Yay! She's finally
All
out.
the kids are coming down the tube like a playground slide.
And all their parents and grandparents are there, and they're being reunited. Hooray!
I guess what we weren't seeing is like half a dozen scenes of a DRD like ramming into a hatch and someone being like, hey, what's that?
Yeah.
Stark has a new prop that I love.
Oh yeah, the thermos thing.
He has a map tube.
The map tube, when I first saw him open it, it really looked like one of those big thermoses that has a little cup you can pull out of it too. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. That's the base of the prop. I don't know.
But inside, yes, are these plastisheet things that we've always seen used as maps and charts. Yep. He's going to find the place to save Zan from the sacrifice she made.
Yep. So John approaches Aeryn, and he wants to bring up the topic from the relationship tube, but they are no longer in the tube.
Popping his radiator cap. Yeah.
Yeah. And Aeryn responds just like, no, yeah, I think you're right. We shouldn't do anything. And actually what John asks, the whole body fluids thing, what about that? And her response is, there'll be a backlog. Oh boy. And Rigel comes in and just goes, fluid levels? Backlog?
Is Moya broken again? And they tell him to fuck off, as they are clearly having another one of their moments where they're saying nothing will happen, but in a way where they both know a lot of things are about to happen. It's their favorite erotic roleplay is to pretend they are not fucking. It's a conceptual one.
It's a thing you can do anywhere. Whenever the mood strikes you, you can do that. Church?
This place is church, if you ask the dead lady.
Yeah. And they're doing it right now. So we cut over to a different area in Moya, where Chiana and Jothi are having a talk. Jothi is planning to leave.
Yeah.
And he's not even going to say goodbye to Dark.
He's skipping town, yeah. Because he clearly doesn't want to hear it. Like, I think Jothi is right now. Moya clearly has a phone number. Stark found them in the Yellow Pages, eventually.
Yep. Yeah, Jothi's telling Chiana that, he doesn't know anything about Luxanon or any of the cultural stuff that he never inherited. And, he believes if he stays on Moya, he's just going to betray his dad again. And we cut to Dargo, holding one of the other tattoos, Union tattoos. And he is using the little monitor that Rigel was using to spy on them to listen in on their conversation.
But now we finally get Chiana's side of the story. And I'm glad it's in this episode and spelled out directly, because if she didn't have this monologue, I'd have to say it, because it's been like burning a hole in me from my memory of watching this episode.
Yeah.
She lays out her reasons for the most childish thing she's ever done, right? She was frightened of what could happen, of being smothered, of the life Dargo was planning. And how do you get away from a love that is too accepting? How do you get away from someone you care about and cares about you and is willing to forgive anything? You find the limit. You go for something that is truly and ultimately unforgivable to push him away. And poor Ka Jothi is just like, damn, I thought you liked me though. Fuck. Kid, I didn't really get that sense. I don't know where you were coming from.
We see Dargo like in the same room, which seems to be the mess hall, actually.
Yeah. And so he fires up that grill.
He fires up that grill and he throws the Unity tattoos on it and just burns them.
Oh.
And the final shot is just Dargo with his face just scrunched up in anger, just tears streaming down his face. This horrible mixture of him just being just despondent and like just betrayed and extremely angry.
They love to make this man cry. He's cannot stop crying.
He's good at crying.
Claudia Black is also good at crying.
Mm-hmm, she is.
Claudia Black actually cries every time Aeryn cries. The only time she ever went for like the menthol stick in this show is when she had allergy tears in when Zan was budding.
Great.
But yeah, I love the final moment of this being burning his half of the Unity tattoo, because as soon as he like brands Jothi with the other half, there's a part in your brain where you can see the long game, right? The golden path lies before you, where eventually things are better. They reunite and they're bonded, and then the ironic tattoo becomes a true thing, and Dargo takes his half, and they're unified in this bit of Luxan culture. And then the end of the episode says, "Fuck you for thinking that. It doesn't work that way. No, that's not this show."
Yeah. I like the ending to this episode a lot. I'm very curious. Like I was saying with the previous episode with the season finale, like I always knew it wasn't going to be just all hunky-dory when they rescue Jothi. There's going to be problems with... The relationship is going to be strained. They don't know each other.
I doubt you saw this problem coming.
No.
at least before watching Daimi Dichotomy.
Yeah, and even after watching that, I was just like, I don't know how this is going to get resolved, but I didn't think it was going to be this, where everything feels irrevocably ruined. These relationships can never be mended, it feels.
In 3 episodes, we've had 4 characters say that I should probably die now, right? Like,
yes.
Aeryn refusing to be resurrected, John being like, Harvey, you're right. It's best if I die. Zan accepting her imminent death, and Dargo going out drunk to do dangerous labor and knowing the risks, and that's part of why he went out there in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a dark season. It starts with an episode called Season of Death.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, the shit that has happened to Dargo is dark and fucked up and sad. And like when we were first talking about the stuff happening between Jothi and Chiana last time, we were like, this is weird. It's still weird, but I think narratively it justifies it all, especially when you learn like why Chiana did all of this. And wow, yeah, it is a way to have some real awful shit happen to Dargo.
I do think Sons and Lovers is very strange in a structural sense, in a way that pieces together more when you learn that the producers, David Kemper in particular, saw this as the middle part of a 5-part story that starts in Daimi Dichotomy and ends in Self-Inflicted Wounds Part 2, Wait for the Wheel.
Okay.
This is our little moody intermission.
Right.
And so like you can see how the interons clearly are being carried forward. There is a 3rd remaining pod that nothing has happened with, that is on Moya. What do you think about Dargo's special spaceship with the force field that shows up, has a force field, and then is never remarked on for the rest of the episode?
When we got up to that, and it's like, oh yeah, Dargo finds this thing. That's the instant I remembered that happened in the episode.
Right? Yeah. But I had to get it on record, on mic, because it's gonna be a thing. It's just laying groundwork for the rest of this 5-part story, right? The same way that season 1 ends with a 5-part story, essentially.
Yeah, it's, now that you point it out, and I think back in this episode, I can definitely feel that it's just the middle part of a greater thing. And so, after seeing the remaining parts, like, I don't feel bad about this episode. There's a ton in it I like, and I generally just enjoyed it. But it was the whole time just being rubbed a little wrong. Like, this feels like it's all middle. Yeah.
Like, if I was in mid-March 2001 watching this week to week, would I feel satisfied just watching Sons and Lovers?
Yeah.
Because there are so many strands pointing forward and a few back, you know?
For me, I still may have been satisfied with it simply because there is at least enough development in Dargo's story that it feels like there is a conclusion to something there.
Yes. And dang it, they rescued those kids.
They rescued those kids. I'm curious what they're going to do with the Interons. I have no idea what they're going to do with that shit. No clue.
Well, one of them got killed to become John's brain meat.
Yep.
One of them puked himself to death.
Yeah.
And what lies behind door number 3?
They open the pod and they explode instantly. I don't know. Yeah, no clue. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see what they do with them. Main thing is I'm just very interested what they do specifically with Dargo and Chiana, because that's not a relationship in real life that you could mend very easily at all.
They still live together.
Yeah, like
they are still co-workers.
I was even thinking, like, this feels like a plotline you also write when one of the two main casts involved has to leave the show.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
this is what you write when Anthony Simcoe or Gigi Edgley got a movie deal. They got to go to Hollywood for 6 months.
Yeah, the only reason why I might not think that is because they were laying the groundwork for that at the end of the previous season. But who knows? Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's going to be a thing. I'm really curious to see how they develop that, because I don't know how you can, other than someone leaves the ship and starts a new life because this was so scarring for them.
And hey, Jothy's taking that option. He's going.
Yeah.
Where's he going? I don't know. He'll get there someday.
I feel like fucked up, like self-destructive Dargo must be around for a while, at least several more episodes this season, because every single thing that was like his meaning in life is gone now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
His son betrayed him and is no longer his son, basically. That all of his plans for his
would-be second wife.
Yeah. Like, this is all the stuff that he was dreaming about for the entire show up until now just got annihilated.
I think in that opening scene in the bar, when he's first showing the tattoos, he even has a bit of a cliche moment about, I never thought I'd get married again, but then, you find the right girl.
Yep.
Big D. Oh, Big D.
I feel real bad for Dargo. He don't deserve this shit.
So that is our first episode of the 3rd season of Space Puppets, talking about the 3rd season of Farscape. Next time, we're going to be back with 2 more, the Self-Inflicted Wounds story, part 1, Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda, and part 2, Wait for the Wheel. One question that I had, you had an issue with how the 2nd season starts by like snapping back into a pretty familiar season status quo very quickly.
Yeah.
I could understand if you said the same about the episode Season of Death, right? Mm-hmm. John's back, Harvey's still in there, everyone's back on Moya flying around by the end of the episode. Aeryn's not dead anymore. But is that the case? Do you feel the same way as you did after the first 2 episodes of Season 2?
A lot less so, even though it is pretty similar. I think even though those stakes got fixed pretty quickly, there are new what feel like long-running stakes that were brought up in the same space. Mainly
everything we just said a minute about Dargo and Chiana, for instance.
Dargo and Chiana, and also Xana's dying. Mm-hmm. Those 2 things make it feel a little less like, things don't feel as status quo.
Also, Stark has gone from guest to regular, and that's not just something behind the scenes or you see in the credits. It feels that way. He feels much more like a crew member, right?
Because of those couple of things, it feels less status quo, because there's still some noticeable big changes. And especially going forward with Dargo, that feels like a big status quo change for me, unless somehow in 2 episodes he's fine again. But I'm having a hard time imagining he's completely fine in 2 episodes after this shit.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what's the thing I've been saying for months now? Farscape is about consequences. And when when there are things about Farscape I don't like, it's because I see a betrayal of that sense of consequences.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think compared to season 2, just overall, I think these first 2 episodes are a much better start for the season than season 2 was.
And that's why Holy Warrior Bakesh should have been the final boss of the Peacekeeper Wars. So again, I would like to tell everybody listening that you can find a lot more of the show in the past and to come by becoming a patron at patreon.com/ChipAndIronicus. Even $1 a month will get you the rest of this program. And again, share the show. Tell people about it. Link this around, especially all of our previous listeners who know exactly what you're getting and just what it's worth, to let people get interested. Because as soon as enough people take that plunge, I don't have to keep doing this part of the housekeeping anymore.
Yeah.
I would love for more people to join this resurgence. I think the 25th anniversary year has been big for Farscape. Not just our listeners, but a lot of people doing rewatches and first watches. We're in the wave, and I would love to be joined closer with the rest of the wave as we all find each other in our digital pockets here. A quarter century after these episodes first aired. Well, season 1.
Season 1. Close enough.
Close enough. If you'd like to listen to someone else talk about something similar, I want to send people to a new program called Throwback Bound. It features my one and only true love, my wife Elena, talking with one of our dearest friends, Nora, about another live-action isekai filmed in Australia, but this time it is for the tweens and the youths. It's a show called Spellbinder, where your average suburban boy falls in a portal or whatever and winds up in a mystic land of not wizards. And those bits are filmed in Poland.
Ooh.
Show just dropped a few weeks ago. You heard Elena and I talk about it in the previous episode of this program, episode 25, where we talked about the season as a whole with a spoiler-friendly-ish vibe. We talked about one big thing that you and I are going to talk about next episode. So, but otherwise, just very casual on that front.
Yeah.
But yeah, Throwback Bound. I'm listening. I'm having a great time. About this show that was big among a small segment of people, 2 of which are important in my life and unheard of outside of their ilk.
Was this one of the shows that Elena was talking about when we last hung out? I think it was. I think it was maybe. Yeah. Because if so, I know a decent amount of this show already.
It's got a fair amount of guest actor crossover with Farscape. Okay. Again, we're pulling from the same pool of Australian TV actors.
Yeah.
Like how everybody in the X-Files was also in the late 80s Twilight Zone because they filmed in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah.
But that means it is time to let you all go. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves.
I have to go because I need to go look up what the other thing I can do with my mouth is. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 things.
You're not going to like the answer. You're not going to like the answer.
Well, I'm going to Google image search other thing I can do with my... Oh my God!
Maybe you would like it. I don't know.
Wow, if you do Google that, it's lots of images of mouth sores.
Bitchin', man.
Bitchin'.